What's up, Matty?
Oh, Ruben.
How you doing, bud?
It's great to be back.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's great to have you back, man.
Thank you.
Very exciting. Very exciting. It's been so long since we've done one of these. I told everybody. I think I mentioned it last week when at the end of the show when I put up the thumbnail for tonight, and I think I told everybody I was like, yeah, man, it's like 5.5 months since we last did anything insanity related, and like 8 months, 5.5 months since we last did our last Hold for the Gold episode, and 8 months since we did an insanity episode. So I think people have done it.
A black tie affair, if ever there was one.
Well, not for me, but for you, yeah. But I still got a shirt, fellas. I didn't want Matt to outdo me too much, so I had to cover up the T-shirt a bit,
I'll let everybody know as well that I do not have the comments open. I don't have two screens. So the only thing I'm seeing is what Ruben puts on the screen. I'm not, avoiding comments. I'm not, snubbing anybody. I say hello to all of you right now. And, so I'm locked in. I'm locked in to make this as brisk and amazing as possible.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah, so keep that in mind, guys. Once we get the show rolling, of course, I will still interact with you guys about the pieces we're looking at and stuff. Get your comments up about them. But as Matt said, just remember, he's not looking at the chat. So unless it's something that I pop up that I think, he feels it needs to be addressed, he won't see your comment. So don't refer to him. Yeah.
To answer Tom's comment, if you go to my IG, I posted all of my picks on a story with all of my picks.
Yeah, the PopSequentialism account, correct?
Yep.
Okay, go there, Tom. The show is gold, Jerry Gold. What's up, Mike? Brian, good to see you. Good to see everybody. Hey, Vivian.
Hey.
Thank you for the support, honey. CJ, as always, good to see you. Good to see you. Jason Ladwig, what's up? Tom, of course. Rick Welch, gonna have to miss this one. Sorry, dude. Oh, I know you're watching the Oscars, you cheating bastard. No, I'm just joking. But have fun, whatever you're gonna do, Rick. And I appreciate you always being here, regardless. Thank you. David. So for all of you guys who watched last week's episode, how awesome was last week's episode? And by the way, David, just so you know, over 600 views on the episode right now, and just for a hangout episode, it's like slightly above average. Typically they're like 500 ish, sometimes even lower, below 500. We got over 600 for you, man. So I hope you're happy with that. And yeah, man, it was a lot of fun to have you. So yeah, one of my favorite episodes, certainly for a long time. So yeah, loved it. A great Matt. You weren't here, but and I don't know if
I came in and I commented. I was like, it's a special occasion when David is on. I was here I could pop in for like 15 minutes. I had to come in and say hello and then popped out.
That's it. So I appreciate that. But yeah, it was like equal parts. I would say equal parts movie talk and a lot of movie suggestion and stuff. And comic art, oftentimes on the Hangouts, it's everything but comic art, right? But yeah, it was like a lot of movie, but a lot of comic art talk too. Especially because David, we basically did an impromptu show and tell with him for a long time, like over 2 hours. So yeah, a lot of fun. So thank you again, David. Let me see. Of course, there's his good day. And who else do we got? John Brown, good to see you. Who else? I mean, I'm putting all your comments up, fellas, but I will say just hello real quick to everybody. David Bart, Alfredo, Matt's ready for the red carpet. You know that.
Thank you, Albert.
You know that. Hey, look at that, Vivian's. Look at you, Matt. You're all dressed up. It's not the first time he's done that, honey. Not the first time at all. He's done it several times. Oh, let's see. Should the Blackletter Couch win for best casting? Ooh, I like that one. Nice one, Marcus. Let me just ask you, given that we're sort of in movie mode-ish, Matt. And I think you've talked about it before in past hangouts or whatever. When the movie talk has come up, does the casting couch thing still exist? Do you think? Do you know?
Think so. Not anymore.
Yeah, too much
I
of the
think honestly
Me Too, the Me because of the Me Too movement.
really got rid of a lot of that. I mean, honestly, that was really on its way out
Okay.
a decade before that. And so anybody who would have been a terrible person who might have been drawn to that possibility, it just doesn't happen anymore. And where that would have been a thing would have been in the adult film industry. And now girls just don't need to do that because they have connection to their own, client base through cam sites. So it's pretty much completely gone away. Haley?
Okay. Good to know. That's a good thing. I mean, like, that's disgusting when you think about it. Like, a giant business like that where it's basically do me or you got no career. I mean, that's really awful, right? Like,
yeah,
really awful.
Yeah.
MLB front office. We got to figure out one day who you are in the Major League Baseball front office, Mr. MLB. If David starts live streaming now, I am out of here to watch him. That's because you loved it. I love that. And let me just tell you guys, for those of you who were here last week, you guys will remember MLB front office was here for the first time, his first time ever. He then proceeded to watch a bunch of my content over the last week and left me boatloads of comments. So very awesome to have him here, and good to see you back. So yeah, that was very cool of you. Appreciate that. What's good? Kekon-san. What's happening, Jeff?
Hey, Jeff.
Let me see. Master class. Okay. Movies. What else we got here? Thank you. All songs picked. Golden should win. It's Manfred. That's Manfred, right? The commissioner of baseball's in the house, everybody. He's a comic art guy. And thank you, CJ, for reminding everybody. Yeah, please, if you could just hit the thumbs up. It's all I ask. Thumbs up. It gets the algorithm. If we get enough of them, it gets the algorithm, putting my show in front of a few other extra people. And really, that's what we're looking for. Just kind of, helping grow the hobby by getting other people interested in it. So more people that see it, more people that watch, the better it is. That's it. What's going to the Hawaiian Islands Comic Art Festival this year? No idea. Weird question. So really quick, everybody, I'm going to jump over to a promo. I surprisingly don't have anything. So nobody did videos this week. And if you did, let me just tell you, I checked literally 20 minutes ago. I don't see any notifications for any of you who I tend to do promos for in your videos. So I'm assuming I have to go by what YouTube tells me. You guys didn't do videos this week. So the only one is Nikki B. And Nikki B surprisingly didn't reach out to give me a link. But let me just remind you that this week, again, as always, Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock in the afternoon Pacific, Nikki has his claim show for original art. And I don't know if he'll be doing giveaways. I know he did some this Friday. But please go check it out. You always get some affordable art to buy there and sometimes high-end art. So please check that out this Friday. Okay. Maddie, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm locked in.
All right. Locked and loaded, everybody. We're going to get right into this. Don't forget, for those of you who may be forgetting, wondering, you're going fast. Remember, it's been a long time since we've done any of these. And part of the reason, at least part of the reason, and I've told you guys this before, Matt has to wake up super early on Mondays. Very hard for him to be here with me and to do these when they go late, when they go like supremely late. So I've promised him, and I've told you guys, this is another warning, that if you guys want more of these shows to happen with a quicker frequency, get on board with me and my effort to try to get these rolling and sort of tighter, quicker. It's not like it's going to be 2 hours, but we can't have it 4 and 5 plus hours, right? I want to get them in 3.5 as the maximum or less. Even better if it's less. But yeah, that's what we're kind of aiming for. And I intend to make it happen tonight. Even if I've got to skip over a bunch of comments, we're good. So that's why we're getting right into it tonight. All right. Only 10 minutes into the show, we are getting right into it. All right. So everybody, with that being said, oh, and last thing, did I have anything of my own to promote? No. So
what about the Mike Perkins? Good? Another one, Mike Perkins drop or anything?
No.
Beautiful Batman stuff, by the way. Oh my God.
Oh, sorry.
Beautiful Batman stuff.
Yeah, I know. And, yeah. And thank you for that one comment. I was going to say though, it's for sale, so it's always weird to see comments on the for sale stuff. You don't feel, I always tell everybody, like, please don't feel the need on for sale stuff. It's kind of weird, but like, certainly reach out to me privately and just let me know. We'll talk about it. But I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Thank you. But yeah, you guys know I did a Batman drop last week, plus some pieces of my own last week. So. But, I cross-promoted from my website over to CAF, the CAF gallery. So you guys have probably already seen that stuff. But it was wild, Matt. Like, speaking of CAF, the art for sale on CAF, there was one guy, and I think it was somebody I don't even know. He basically went in. Oh, no, that was another guy. Sorry. Jeff, of all people, Jeff Wedding went in. He liked. I didn't count them, but it felt like he liked every single Perkins page. Like, it was nuts. I was dozens and dozens. I was like, what the hell's going on with Jeff? He doesn't normally do, he doesn't do that on for sale stuff. And I started thinking, is it possible, Jeff, that, I don't know, you're feeling like, well, I always leave you comments and likes on all your pieces, and you felt like you needed to do me the favor back? Like, listen. If I only post once, twice, thrice per year of my, my collection, that's my business. If it means you only leave me one or two or three comments and likes, that's okay. It doesn't have to be tit for tat, just letting you know, because it's kind of weird to see such an effort on your part and such a kind of a lot of time wasted to just have to like all my for sale stuff. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
Really, really good pieces, though. I mean, bangers.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I agree. Obviously, I agree. It's just, I don't know. You know how it is. You do know what I mean, though, Matt. It's weird, right? Like, you're selling it. Yeah, but I appreciate it. And thank you, Mikhail, looking wild. Look at that. Looking sharp, lads. Thank you, Mikhail. Appreciate that.
Hey, Mikhail wore a tux to the CAF awards last year, if I'm not mistaken.
I heard about that.
Yeah, New Year's. Yeah.
That's funny. Peter, looking forward to David's next appearance. Me too. We'll see how many years it takes next time, And hey, Matt Barr's back. What's up? He was here last week. What's up? What's good, Matt? Thank you. Welcome back. And I saw that the Perkins Batman is getting a hardcover release. Yeah. I don't know anything. You probably know more than I do at this point, Mikhail, but yes, supposed to. So yes, we'll see what it all looks like. And yeah, should be cool. Time for lesson. I like Perkins. Well, I appreciate that, Jeff. Yeah. Like I said, though, you just didn't need to do that. You don't typically do that for my for sale stuff. That's why it shocked me. That's why I'm saying it. Hydra's in the house. What's up, Hydra? Good to see you, dude.
Got to have dinner with Hydra in Orlando.
You hung out? Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. How cool was that? That was pretty cool, right?
It was awesome. Yeah. It took us a while to finally meet up to be able to hang, because it was just such an overpowering show. But yeah, we had a great dinner with a few people. It was great.
That's cool. Very cool. And of course, he's complimenting you on your dress. Nobody gives two shits about me. If I don't, it's like I have to go all the way with the tie. If I don't put the tie, nobody says anything. It's all about Matt, and that's okay. Matt's a slickster, as you all guys know. Guys all know.
I like that. I'll put that on business cards.
John Clancy in the house. What's up? Ruben has left me the same comment on my cap gallery for the last week. I'm on a roll. Sean, I've been having so much fun with that. I literally, I know it's crazy, but I literally started laughing out loud when I was leaving you yesterday's comment. I was having so much fun wondering what's Sean thinking at this point? Like, he's not even replying to me. He's just letting me do it. Yeah. I see what I've decided to do, Matt, is Sean has a tendency to just not write anything in the comments, right? And we talked about that, right? It's like typically you do that, I ain't leaving you shit. Not even a like. He's my friend, Sean, so of course I want to leave him something. So I click the like for sure. But this past week, I've been clicking like and leaving him a comment that says nothing. There's a period. Yeah. There's a period because you have to leave something, otherwise it won't register. Right. So I put a period, and so that's it. But I'm kind of, I'm giving him the message. You got nothing to say about it. I got nothing to say either. But at least you're seeing my name in the comments and you're still getting a like. It's better than most people's doing for you, Sean. So hey, you should still be thankful. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how long I can keep that going. So everybody else got to dust off the tux every now and then. Yes, that's right. And the David show was fun and long. It's true. Second longest all time, I think. I don't know. You guys know better than me. I don't keep track of that. But yes, it was a lot of fun. What else? Yes, indeed. Fun time at OA Access, Hyder. And Matt was hard to find. Was he hard to find? Marcus says.
Took a bit to finally set our appointment time. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Never replied to Ruben's comments. Comment gate. That's right. I was not on my period. It's not right. Stay strong. There he is.
Stay gold, pony boy.
Stay gold, pony boy. Exactly. All right. You don't give in to the pressure. He doesn't have to. I'm not forcing anybody to say anything, but you better not complain when all I leave you is a period. You know what I mean? It still takes me more time to do that than it took you to do your description. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, it's good for a laugh. So, okay. So this time for real, everybody, let me cue this up, and we're gonna get the show on the road. And didn't even mix them up. This time I decided we're going to go alphabetical order by the title of the comic art. Right. And yeah, let's start with this, everybody. The first one tonight. Here we go. So we have here the cover to Amazing Spider-Man 224 by John Romita Jr. and Bob Layton. And this one was purchased in March 2019, exactly 1 year before COVID set in, on Comic Link. $21,250. And you know what's funny, Matt? I just want to quickly say, I remember a few people telling me, wow, man, that's pretty pricey for a cover that, it's mostly vulture-ish, And I was like, I don't know. I think that's what it's supposed to be. I don't know, somewhere between 20 and 28, something like that. So that's what I was thinking anyways, And it's true that it's mostly vulture-ish, but there still is a full Spidey image, right?
Doing Spidey-ish things, hanging upside down on a web. It's about 1/6 of the overall artwork. And then you have, of course, he's always in the corner box. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would say in 2019 at $21,000 that signified the beginning of a rise in the price for both John Romita Jr. and Bob Layton artwork.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. Hey, Caesar. It's hard to tell also because, the Amazing Spidey covers, they don't appear often, right? So it's not like, not like we or the bidders get to have a lot of comps all the time. So it's when they do pop up, it's kind of hard to, it really is. It makes it more difficult to decide, hey, how much should this thing be worth today, Okay, so while everybody's saying hello to Caesar, why don't we find out what happened to this one? And Matt, I'll let me know. Let everybody know what you have the first word, and we'll see what you think about the results here. Check it out, everybody. So April 25. Okay, so about a year-ish ago, 52.8 at Heritage this time. At Heritage, purchased at Comic Link, sold at Heritage. Be aware though, look at the numbers, guys, before we all, make comments. 52.8, so it seems like it's a really, and it certainly is a massive, in comparison in terms of sale price to sale price, right? Because you got 21 and a quarter and then 52.8, so it's a massive jump. But remember that because of seller fees, the profit is it's not as much as it appears at first. So the profit would be 22,750. And just so everybody knows, let me just come to you. Let me tell you from now on, and what I've done for tonight and from now on, you guys remember, I always used to say, when they sell at Heritage the second time, I would always put like two net profit numbers. The first one on, okay, if the seller had a no seller fee deal, that's the price. But if he had, let's say, 10%, and it would be this price, and then I would also extrapolate, well, that means the percentage gain or loss is this or this. I don't want to do that anymore. It's just it clutters up the all the information. So I'm just going with, let's give the benefit of the doubt, because a lot of the pieces we show are kind of like higher, good quality pieces. From now on, starting tonight, I'm only giving the number when they sell at Heritage. I'm giving the number on the assumption that the seller, consigner, had a no seller fee deal. So when you look at the numbers of what they profited on either net basis or a percentage basis, understand that that's the best case scenario we're going to see tonight and moving forward. It could be less than that on the profit level if they did have a seller fee attached to it, right?
Which it almost assuredly is. So just so everybody knows and they can do their own math at home, a worst case scenario would be a 20%.
25 now.
Well, for something like that, I'm guessing that it's probably 20%.
You're saying worst case, right? So I'm just saying worst case, the official line is 25 on both sides.
And that started when? In November 25?
July 1st.
25.
Yeah, July 1st, 2025. There was an auction that ended like on, I want to say June 28th. It was the last couple of days of the month. That was the last of the 20%, and then so on as of July, the next auction starting July of 2025, it jumped to 25. So 25 officially on both sides. Few people get dinged that badly either. Like, you really got to be a sucker to allow them to do that to you, right? And not think that, hey, maybe I should say, hey, this is kind of onerous. Can we do a bit better? So very few people get stung that badly, but definitely the top 25 is gone immediately for the seller because, right, they don't get any of that. And then the reason why I no longer want to do two prices is because it's negotiable. At Heritage, it's negotiable. We don't know on any of these examples, what the seller negotiated. So from now on, I'll give everybody the benefit of the doubt. We're just going to assume they were lucky enough to get no seller fee, only losing the buyer's premium, and that's it. And so you guys can figure out on your own the math for, okay, this is the best they could have done. And they likely made less than that because they probably did have some level of seller fee. All right. Okay. So we'll go back to this. And we see that the net profits, 22,750. So really 107%. I mean, they still, even after the losing the buyer fees, they're still doubling, their money basically here, Matt. And it took 6 years and 1 month. So what do you think? I mean, I think that's pretty awesome, no?
I think when you get up to pages that have that much base value, that the expectation that you're going to double or even get close to doubling in under 10 years is, I would say, optimistic. So anytime you can if you can come out of something with a 50% profit or better,
right,
then you're doing pretty good. I mean, if this were a piece that were $2,000 that sold for $4,000 in 5 years. That's a much more common scenario. But very expensive things very rarely double in price. So this person did really well.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. You know, I think you look at something like this, and again, everybody remember that Matt and I, for those of you who are new and or newer, you know, there's a few of you who are newer here, and you may not have seen any of the previous episodes. You know, Matt and I are both on the same page about, you know, we first of all feel like if you're in this hobby, I don't mean comic books, just specifically comic book art. You know, we do feel that you should just get into it because you love the art, you want to collect it and hold it long term, okay, as long as possible, okay. Although neither of us are opposed to, you know, like it's not like we care about specific people being, you know, what we call flippers, investors, speculators. Like we feel like it's your money, whatever, do what you want with it, right? But we don't encourage that kind of behavior. You know what I mean? We would rather see we feel like a healthy market. We just feel buy for the love of it, hold on to it with thinking long term, and eventually when you do want to sell stuff, when you do that, if you do that, you usually come out pretty well ahead and you'd be very happy with the money you made, you know? So yeah, so there you go. After thinking your generous counteroffer on the Sojourn promo art, I'll take it. I'll take it so you can add it to your Hold for the Gold episode. Email me about that. Privately, please. Reply to my email from earlier. Thank you. Do you think when you move into 21 purchases that your 5 years should move into a 7-year rule? I don't want to start getting
2022 are peak years in high pricing across almost every hobby. And so you saw really, really crazy numbers achieved. They're going to remain outliers because some stuff is still on its way up from that era and a lot of stuff isn't. So it really, really depends. You know, even this piece, like I said, that in 2019, that's really about the tipping point of when John Romita Jr. and Bob Layton started to get progressively more expensive too. So it's an interesting case study in seeing where this wound up because it is an ASM cover. But you can probably look in and see interior pages from both of their more well-beloved and higher circulation runs, and you can see an even higher degree of increase on the interiors because they started out a little bit cheaper. So you know, there's a lot of context to everything. Like and Ruben and I are never saying as a blanket statement that this always works in this capacity. But what we are saying is that you should hold things for at least 5 years. And I think we've both said at certain points that 10 years is really like where you want to be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and again, for especially for you newer viewers, we are not saying that because, just so you know, we think we're know-it-alls. And, you know, look, we've been around a long time, yes. But we're still, it's not like, oh, that's just our gut feeling. No. So we know this to be true. And that's the whole point of these shows. We know this to be true, what Matt just said about the 5-year minimum hold, because by doing these shows, right? I mean, let me rewind. The reason I started to try to do these shows is because I had been saving scans, pricing data, and I started noticing patterns. And I thought, hey, that's pretty interesting. And one of those patterns was like, wow, when people resell things at auction specifically, it was amazing. I started to see how this 5-year rule, so to speak, came into play, where like most items took at least 5 years. In other words, if people resold the item before 5 years, the vast majority of the time, I noticed they would take a loss. And if they sold it beyond holding it for 5 years, the vast majority of the time, they made money. And when they sold it right around the 5-year mark, so say a few months before, you know, less than 5 years, a few months past 5 years, oftentimes it was break even. So a little bit above the exact break even or a little below the break even, right? That's why, it's obviously can't be an exact science. So it's not like 365 days times 5, you're starting to make money now. No, around the 5-year mark, So that's what we noticed. That's what I noticed, and that's why I got Matt on board, and it was like, hey, let's do this, and that's what we've been showing show after show, all this time. So very interesting. And sometimes you will have exceptions to the rule, obviously. And we've done a show or two on the exceptions to the rule. At some point, I will do another episode, hopefully again with Matt, where it's what I call insanity wins. So for the people who are interested in speculating, investing, but trying to make money quicker than as opposed to long term, I will have we'll do another episode because I have enough examples where I've got enough examples where, hey, these guys made money reselling less than 5 years after holding 5 years.
Can I give a 3-minute caveat for the people who are newer than 8 months ago, which is when I think we did our last actual Stop the Insanity show. So quickly, 3-minute recap of we know there are exceptions, and it goes like this, which is that we know that there are reasons why people will sell early because they need emergencies happen in life. Because this is a hobby of unique things, perhaps something that they always wanted came up after they had put money into another piece that they like just a little bit less, and so they're willing to take a loss. We understand these things. We understand that anybody can make an inherently bad decision to make a slightly better decision that is a personal decision. And so we're not addressing that. And since this is actually a show about, the reward of waiting and waiting long enough to make a decent return on investment, we're not going to be really addressing how it can be a really bad thing to sell early. But to Ruben's point too, there are always certain things that tend to buck the market. And even though it shouldn't necessarily come out on top because it is a hobby of unique things, the person who may have taken them off the hook of a bad decision may be the same person who would have sold another piece to get enough money to get into buying that piece because it showed up and didn't want to get outbid. So, hey, I did it in less than 3 minutes. But that's the whole like enchilada as far as that goes.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. And guys, also a little quick little addendum to that. There are pieces that not only in the future, but in the past episodes, we've shown on multiple different series. In other words, there have been episodes of Stop the Insanity, right? Which is the show where we show the examples of people selling in less than 5 years and they lose money all the time. There have been pieces on those shows that also made it onto Hold for the Gold, for example, because they then resold again and those people made money, So that's the interesting thing. There's multiple examples of which have appeared on different episodes. And lastly, just want to address Hydra. I'll put it back up there. He's saying, still waiting on the DC mystery art. Hydra, that already happened. And we've got an example tonight, which we'll talk about it. I thought about you when I put this one into the selections for tonight. So we'll talk about it. All right. So thank you for allowing us that, everybody. Let us move on. Why don't we to the next piece? But yeah. Mr. 6 years, just over 6 years and a month to make 22 grand in your pocket. I think that's pretty fantastic. One last thing, everybody. Take note. It might be interesting for you to take note tonight. One of the things you'll notice, and this is what happens all the time. So you guys all know how, historically speaking, Marvel's here, right? And then DC's here, whatever, in terms of popularity. So as you would expect, right? They sell more comics, more copies per title, that whole thing, on average across the board over the decades, right? So just like with comics, that naturally translates to artwork. And so take note, even though every example you'll see tonight are examples where people made money over time, just take a close look and note the differences in how much longer, say, it takes a DC piece to make a similar type money as a Marvel piece, or conversely, compare the time, right, as a Marvel piece, and take note of, oh, but you typically make a lot less with a DC piece. They just don't go up at the same exponential rate as Marvel. That's,
But I will say this too, and that because for the last 30-ish years, the most lauded comics, the comics that win the most awards, have tended to be DC comics. Those comics get that artwork gets much more valuable faster from the date of release. And so because it has an almost irreproducible rate of immediate increase, it's going to take longer for those pieces to get very valuable,
right,
beyond starting at a position where there's already people fighting over it. You need look no further than just the sales of the past year and a half on Absolute Batman stuff,
right.
where that stuff is it's in a frenzy. I mean, Absolute Batman artwork is in an absolute frenzy. We haven't seen anything like that in the hobby in decades. And I mean, unless, a comic like Saga, unfortunately, where Fiona Staples is a digital artist, if she had been holding on to all of her artwork to drop on the 15th or 20th anniversary, you would see a massive Saga frenzy, the likes of which we've never seen before. Certainly, if all of a sudden a bunch of Calvin and Hobbes artwork were to hit the hobby, there would be a massive frenzy of people paying ridiculous amounts of money for Calvin and Hobbes. So, you have to address that there are situations like that actually, by their very definition, change the market for DC versus Marvel, and the types of artists who were willing to work for DC in an era where they were not willing to work for Marvel, and those artists already had higher price points for acquiring their artwork. But by and large, when you're talking about journeyman illustrators, the characters on the artwork matter, and the response of most people in the hobby responding to Marvel characters is at a higher level, and so there's more competition, and there's more people with a lot of money who are willing to grab up, classic, treasured, nostalgic, and yet also historically important pages.
Yeah, and just I want to make sure, Matt, that everybody understands. I want to make sure I'm on the same page with you on the first initial point you made, just to make sure we're all on the same page. If I could boil it down, was your initial point that, generally speaking, with the brand new contemporary art, the higher the prices are when it's brand new,
already very high,
right? The more difficult it will be or the more time it will take, and ergo, the more time you should definitely expect to hold on to that type of modern contemporary stuff before you ever consider throwing it out at auction or selling it or whatever.
Absolutely.
Right? Because it's already so high.
No pun intended. Absolutely no pun intended.
Absolutely.
Yes, 100%. But that was also true of Sandman art in the 90s, of a lot of Vertigo art in the 90s, where you didn't even necessarily have artists whose work was as rare or as expensive, but it was very, very, it was, when Apple's being compared to apples as closely as possible of just comic art to comic art, that stuff was a little bit more expensive than the journeyman pages, faster. So like the initial very first resale of that artwork was already at a much higher level.
Thank you for that. Yes. David Bart saying, love this show. Such a great topic. Thank you, Matt, for your time. Fuck me, but thank you, Matt. Thank you. It's always to the guest, never to me,
I know, right? Matt, just so everybody knows, Ruben sets up all this stuff. He is 99.5% responsible for everything that goes into these episodes. So please, give credit where credit is due. Give credit to the man.
No, but I love it. It's so ironic. That's why I think it's hilarious. You know what I mean? But I take that back. Matt ceased to be a guest ages ago. He is equal co-host with me, of course, and for a long time now. which is awesome. But thank you, David. That's very nice of you to say that. So that's in all honesty, that's very cool. JC Juan Carlos.
Hey.
I still prefer Jesus Cristo, but we'll go with Juan Carlos. That's all right. What's good, buddy? David, still I'm still tired from last week. By the way, David, you never emailed me to tell me what your wife said to you after we finished the show and you got off with me. I would like to also thank the Academy. There you go. Apples to apples. Are we still talking about peach? Nice. You're right. Hey, and yeah, I mean, that's Alberto, and CJ who agreed with you. That's what I clarified with Matt just now. Yeah, we believe you're right. But I will say with a caveat, because there's always exceptions to the rule. It's very possible, guys, that if you're talking specifically about any strong seller, of which it's almost everything, from Felix's stable, then that could be the exception. That's kind of like the only exception where I've seen people kind of resell pretty quickly and was surprised to see, somebody took it up at around the same value or whatever, like they didn't lose their shirt.
That is also happening. The same types of like record-setting new art prices that we're seeing that Felix's stable have been getting. We're also seeing with some of the Spanish dealers. So that people that were represented by Black Diamond, when those artists, a lot of whom were digital, switched to doing physical so that they would have art to sell, seeing the prices go crazy, we saw their artwork go to $90,000, but again, was that the absolute Batman frenzy that was happening, more so than the fact that someone else was capable of doing a Felix type drop. But I will also say this, that you don't see a lot of people selling the pieces they picked up in these Felix drops, which leads me to believe that there's one or two people that have the resources, meaning they have enough money and love for the specific stuff that Felix is selling, that he's not getting inundated with the quote unquote investor class. Now, there are a bunch of investors. We know there's even going to be a convention here in Las Vegas in September that, the Collectors Summit that is being hosted by Dinesh and Zatari. They are investor class collectors. They do love stuff. They absolutely do. I've seen it in person, but they're also very much into buying something that they think is going to get very expensive.
I would listen. We can sit here and argue semantics till the cows come home, but I feel I have to, because I've always done it. I have to say, I more specifically would say they're in the speculation game, because investing to me is longer term outlooks, whereas the shorter term guys, it's more speculative.
I agree with that.
Right. Which is
it'd be better to say they're in the speculation class. You're absolutely correct.
Right. And just so you know, Matt, Marcus let us know. I did see this piece, that one of the Felix pieces, speaking of Felix, the Absolute Batman, it was like a nothing double page splash. It just had a hand and a gun on it from the first issue. And it sold. And Marcus said he made $2,000 over what the guy paid for it. So there you go. Right. So that's why I'm saying, guys,
that boons well. I mean, that boons well for the actual. Now, I will say investment for the investment value of those Felix drops. Hey,
what's up, Ian?
And hello, Peter. I don't think I said hello to Peter.
That's and Peter. But that's it. That's why I'm saying, guys, generally, Alberto, you're right. But, in this hobby, you should all know by now what Felix has done, right? From nothing, right? From scratch, what he built and what he's done. I mean, we don't have to repeat it and get into it now. It makes him an absolute.
He's a kingmaker.
Could be
honest.
Unicorn. It's right. So he's like the exception to the rule as a general rule. So that's why. So while we're talking about, what we've said still stands. The newer the art and the higher priced it is to start off with, when it's like new art, the harder it is to get your money back out of it. So you especially got to get into it and think long term, guys. Long term, not forget the 5-year thing now with the newer art. If it's pricey, 10 years. You know what I mean? Just hold it long time. That's it. That's all. We don't even have to say the amount of years. Just think long term. Try to love it enough that you want to hold on to it for the foreseeable future. That's just, we'll leave it there, That's it. So, okay, let's get back to this Rob's in the house. 100% agree with you, Ruben. Those guys treat art like stocks. Well, there you go. Yeah, it is what it is, right? Good to see you, Rob. Go Felix, go. Everyone keep buying for a 1 year. Yeah, 1 year hold on that. But again, he's the exception. So I don't like to use the Felix stuff as the reasons to prove that, hey, we're wrong, because it's an exception, right? He is a market unto himself, basically, So, hey, Rob. Peter says, hey, Matt, tastefully attired. I said hello earlier, but it didn't get picked up. Sorry about that. I apologize.
So I of course say hello to you now. Yes.
There you go. Rest in peace, Ryan and Rob. Okay. All right. Let's move it on. We got to get going. So we wasted a lot of time there, but great talking, great chat, great information. All right. Second piece up tonight, everybody, is Captain America, number 249, page 2. John Byrne, Joe Rubinstein, a nice, very brief run. Great John Byrne artwork. Sold in February 2013 at Heritage. Now, let me just say real quick, Matt, that I remember at the time, and this goes to that thing I've always said oftentimes, that a lot of newer collectors who haven't been anywhere near as long as I have or you have, will who often say, well, I wish I got in earlier. If only I got in earlier, right? And what I say to that, it's, guys, I've been in like almost 30 years now, and every year that has gone by, I've said, holy shit, this stuff's getting pricey. Wow. Oh, yeah. So I can tell you, Matt, at this time when this page sold, I remember thinking, oh my God, like, man, these burned cap pages from this little run, they're getting expensive. I did, because again, when you do go way back, right, I remember them being worth 3 figures, not 4 figures, right? So it does get expensive. So anyways, 3226, fellas, in 2013. And let me show you immediately here what it sold for and how long it took for it to make that money. Check this out. So remember, February of 2013, 3,200. And then March. So this fella really enjoyed it for a long time, held on to it for 13 years. And after 3,200 that he paid, it sold on Heritage for just over 11,000. So
almost triple.
Sorry, say that again, Matt.
Almost triple.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, of course, the sales comparison, sale price. But even after, remember, because this just happened. So he didn't get at least the top 25% of that amount, right? And so he still nets $5,600. So 175% on your money after 13 years. I mean, to me, again, you enjoyed a great piece of artwork for 13 years. And then, you probably sold it because he maybe had to, or maybe he just wanted to make some money and use the money for other things. Wow, you get all that enjoyment for 13 years on a killer piece of art, and you get your money back, plus an extra $5,600 for your trouble, for having enjoyed it. You got paid to enjoy it. Yeah, I think it's pretty sweet, man. I think it's pretty sweet. So I don't know. Any thoughts on your end there, Matt?
Yeah, I think, that the sale of this piece coincides with a couple of things that you have to address that are both inside and outside the hobby. One thing is that John Byrne X-Men pages had long ago, prior to 2013, really priced out most people.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the secondary and third, titles that Byrne is most known for, a lot of people would say, that they really like the She-Hulk. That's a pretty recent thing. that She-Hulk pages have really, really taken off. I would say Captain America, well, Superman, of course, but Captain America would be in back of Superman and in back of X-Men. But in 2013, this is right after the Avengers movie and right ahead of the Captain America Winter Soldier movie. So the character in the zeitgeist is getting a kind of respect that he hadn't really gotten. And then in the comics, you're looking at Civil War getting reprints of the Death of Captain America story hitting omnibuses. So there's a lot of really, really important information that helps to build up that character. And certainly in 2013, when you go back and look at what were the really excellent runs on Captain America, not just by the art standard, but by the writing, I would say that the Byrne Captain America stories were among the better written stories. And then, second to Byrne would be the Zek run, where the Zek art in that run was really, really dynamic following his Punisher pages. So it's interesting that Captain America becomes a second or third tier character for two major artists whose work was already starting to pick up.
Right. Yeah, well said. Yeah, I agree. And I always say you can't go. There are certain artists that I think are going to be like popular forever. I know Byrne's one of those, at least in our lifetimes, right? It's never
Byrne and Perez from that same era. Yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
It never has ceased to sort of wane. Doesn't mean it can't at some point, like when all of us are long dead and buried, right? And an entirely new generation comes in, is grown up behind us, who primarily, let's say, grew up with comics from the 2000s onward, right? Then it's absolutely, especially if people tend to forget their history, it's absolutely possible that the popularity could wane, right?
Sure.
But certainly in our lifetimes, I don't expect it to,
And also interesting about this recent sale is March 2026, right? So we're talking about, this is a very, very recent sale. Yeah. But after we've already seen a new Captain America-centric trailer for Doomsday featuring Chris Evans, who is the actor who made Captain America cool again. So, we may be seeing that we're just ahead of a peak of people really wanting to pick up great era Captain America stuff.
I agree. Marcus is saying that this analysis did not take into account crazy cap collectors. Well, Alberto can certainly tell us if he had anything to do with this, but he's usually, I'm going to say no, or at least if he even bid, I'm going to guess, Alberto, that you would have bid, not strong, because he's primarily a cover and splash type collector,
Yeah, he's got what we might call better pieces already. So this would be a little bit below his normal pickup.
Yeah, exactly.
Great page, but he's got killer stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But there you go. That's what I figured. Alberto says I didn't bid on this one. There you go. Yeah. So even Mickey collects cap, does he? All right, the Dave Hoover cover he posted. Right. Oh, that's funny. Well, Mickey collects a lot of everything. Let's be honest. All right, let's roll right into the next one, everyone. Oh, yes. Oh, great one. Love this one. Yes. All right, everybody. This next one is from Daredevil 214, page 19. One of the issues, got to tell you right away, it was one of the issues in which Mazzucchelli did ink himself, okay, rather than Bulanari. And of course, those issues do tend to get more money. But yeah, 2017, this had sold for $3,700 on Comic Link. And I should tell you, going only by my memories, right? I'm just pulling it out of my head from what I remember. I could maybe be making mistakes. Just keep that in mind. So in 2017, I seem to recall that, yes, while this was a standout action page, so definitely a supremely high quality page, 3,700 was absolute tops for non-born again Mazzucchelli Daredevil pieces,
Right.
They were still selling, you could still find some with, let's say, one or two panels of Daredevil Bulanati ink in the several $100 range, to, you know, 4 to 5 panels of Daredevil. And those at most would be like in the very low 4 figures, you know, like $1,000, 1,100, whatever the case may be. So yeah, so 3,700 was definitely strong at the time, but you know, it was a very exceptional page, very exceptional example here. All right, now the guy who ended up purchasing this one for 3,700, he then held on to it and sold it 7 years later. All right, a 7-year hold. It sold for just under $20,000. And so even after the 20, I guess at the time, 19.5% that was being charged, he still profited. He got his money back and profited $12,800 for a percentage increase in 7 years of 345%. I mean, that's pretty incredible, man. What do you think, Matt?
Again, like you said, 2017, for someone to be paying $3,400 for a panel page of a non-Miller Mazzucchelli, and granted, this is from a Denny O'Neil story, and Denny's a legend, but he's certainly not Frank Miller Daredevil. That it was before the glow up happened. You know, that the Mazzucchelli Miller pages were already very, very expensive, but the non-Miller Mazzucchelli pages weren't. And it was only a matter of time before those Miller pages got so damn expensive that if you wanted just a piece of Mazzucchelli, you know, just to say it's Miller era adjacent and one of the best artists to ever tackle the character, it took a long time for those pages to really climb to the point where a panel page hits $13,000 or $20,000. And I look at this, and at first I was like, and it's kind of not even really a very nice page, but that's because I'm looking at the color, and then you just shift over to the other side of the screen, and you see how much better his stuff looks when it's not colored.
Right.
And
oh my gosh. Yeah.
that there's just so much more definition and everything.
Yeah.
You know, that blue on black on the color just buries so much excellent detail in there that seeing something like that, if you hadn't seen, and of course this is in April 24, it's after that that IDW Mazzucchelli edition of Daredevil, where you actually get to see those black and white pages on some of that work. Right. And you realize what a magnificent artist he was, that this may be your last time to ever buy in for under 20 grand.
Yeah, so that's what I kind of wanted to address. Let me come back to you guys because so Major League Baseball front office. So I you know, he as I mentioned at the top of the show, he's been watching a lot of the content this past week from the past on my channel, and you know, so obviously he saw some of the episodes where I was talking about how I often mention how over the course of my time in the hobby, as I get to the point, you know, as what I'm collecting gets to the point where I'm like, damn, I'm so sick and tired of paying these prices, I stop collecting that and I look for something else that's cheaper, right? I call it collecting down. I keep going to less popular stuff, cheaper stuff, and that's what I've done. So MLB puts hashtag the collecting down movement. There you go. And that's the thing,
we
right?
all do it, right? Because we have to. We all have to do it. That's We're not made of money. And honestly, the pages that I love the most that I own, certainly in the published pages, are the least expensive pages that I've picked up. And they always were. You know, they get valuable, and when they hit a certain value, I'm no longer comfortable owning them, I offload them. But like right now, as I look around my walls, I actually have there was an episode of an inker who has a show on YouTube, and he printed out a blue line of that classic Mazzucchelli year one of Batman, but instead of doing it as a panel of like on a half splash, he did it as a double page splash, a sideways 11 by 17, just doing that. And I remember watching him go through talking about what it was like inking Mazzucchelli, and I'm like, I have to own that because I'll never own a Mazzucchelli. It's certainly not one from year one, but it cost me like a few $100s, and I love it. And then and that has, you know, it's since seen publication via his outlets and his channels, But next to it, I have a Batman page from Chris Wildgoose that I wouldn't sell for anything.
Yeah.
It's a pencil page. It cost me, I think, $190.
For sure.
And I love it.
For sure.
And
yeah.
It will never be worth $20,000. So I'll never have to sell it.
Never say never, Matt. I remember the story of, I remember in 2001 when I got my Holy Grail Hulk 272 cover. I not to make you jealous, Sean, but when I got it, right, I remember thinking, I guess if I'm thinking, like if anybody wanted to get it from me, would I, like, what would it take, right? Because I do believe everything's got a price. That doesn't mean, hit me up because I'm always looking, I don't have a price. I'm just saying, if I hear one that's I find crazy, I'll take it. I'm willing to consider taking it, right? So I remember thinking, boy, because it cost me $1,000, right? It cost me $1,000. I was like, I mean, it would have to be a price that it's never going to reach in my lifetime. So I would say somebody would have to, of course, it would have to happen like soon in around 2001, in the coming year at that point, right? Somebody would have had to offer me $20,000. That's what I said in my head, because in my head, that would have sounded crazy, 20 times my money, right? Mind you,
now that's light. Now that's really light.
But now it's like, what? They're ridiculous. So yeah. And let me tell you guys too, something you're going to notice tonight, related to this. Just like with comic books, you guys, all of us were comic book guys at one point, and those of us, a lot of us are no longer. But you're aware that the comic book hobby, ever since CGC came into being, basically CGC, professional grading, revived the back issue market, right? They saved the back issue market and simultaneously destroyed collecting, because basically it became all about speculating, right? So comic people today, I don't call them collectors. The vast majority are speculators, speculating on either the grade or just in general key books, right? Key appearances, whatever. That's the majority of people. But just like with comics, where this thing is hot right now, a few months later it kind of peters out. You're looking for something else hot. That's it's always been that way. But with comics, it's like everything, every dollar has had its day. And they keep going back to the well on things that were once hot but died out, and now let's try to make it hot again, right? With artwork, almost every type of artwork imaginable has sort of had its day, but there are still certain things out there where like it never really went up a lot more slowly than others, whether it's certain artists' work or certain titles, really unpopular titles.
And certain types of titles, right? Like there's a whole bunch of subgenres that just never picked up, like certainly modern war comics, Peter can speak to this. Modern war comic art is so much cheaper than late Bronze Age, Silver Age war comic art. And of course the Golden Age comic art is completely out of reach, or at least it's for people who've been paying attention to it, has gotten really, really more expensive than you used to be able to get it 20 years ago. And certainly modern Western comics, no one gives a shit about modern Western comics except the Europeans.
Yeah.
And so there's whole entire, for years, like modern horror stuff wasn't really selling well. Now horror is hot again. So people who were looking at the prices of Atomic Age and pre-code horror are now speculating on modern horror if it's from certain companies, but certainly not all of it. And I'll do a little side quest here for just a minute and a half. Yeah. I subscribe to the Mile High Comics, newsletter. And so I went through it and I looked at it, and they were selling like a couple of like Eros comics from like the mid 90s, these erotic, adult comics. And the prices that stuff is getting, like not the first issues, but the last issues in a couple of these series, because the circulation would go from, say, 20,000 down to 3,000 by the time it hit issue 8. Those comics are very expensive. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, wow, Gooner's got a lot of money.
Yeah. And the final thing I just want to say, and we'll keep it rolling, is that you'll see tonight, guys, at least a couple of examples where of title or genre, artist, whatever, that was ignored for the longest time. Nobody wants it. And the longer it goes ignored, it just seems like, again, because people are kind of like sheep. That's the human mentality. Most people, they kind of want to do what other people are doing, and they follow along. And the longer it goes without going up, people keep thinking, well, it must be because nobody likes it. It's crap. So I don't like it. I don't want to get that either, you know? But eventually, people eventually are going to realize, and sometimes it does take a lot longer than you imagine, but eventually every artist, like every title, every genre that has been dead for a long time, eventually people catch up to it and they realize, okay, things have gotten so pricey in this hobby, and this shit here, it's still so, in comparison, it's way beyond like cheap. Like it really, even when you take into account that, yeah, sure, it was never all that popular to begin with as a comic, with the fans, blah, blah, blah. You go beyond that and you're still like, even taking that into account, you're like, this is way too cheap. And we're going to see a couple of, and I'll bring up which examples those are as we get to them, guys. You'll see that everything eventually people decide, okay, I want to get some of that now. And suddenly it'll take off overnight, Yeah.
You look at Mobius's, his science fiction art at a certain point just hit that tipping point where it got really, really expensive. So then people that wanted Mobius but couldn't afford that, they started buying the Blueberry artwork, the Western artwork. Now that stuff is crazy expensive. Some people recognize it as being more valuable because it's his first comic book work. So that can happen to anybody. You get like someone who did, Mike Perkins, someone who was like inking independent comics for Caliber, like these weird side characters, and all of a sudden he lands Swamp Thing, and then he lands Batman, and it's like more people know who Mike Perkins is. Right. So we're gonna all be fighting over Mike Perkins stuff, from this point forward.
Yeah.
Music to your ears, I'm sure.
What's that?
Music to your ears, I'm sure.
I don't care. It's really mostly for Mike, I'd be thrilled for, Yeah. But Cad says, I must say with apologies, that I am very tired about all the obsession with values. Yes, we must be aware of prices and trends, but the hobby is more about one sense of wonder. And we agree with that.
Yeah.
Which is why, Cab, as you know, if you take a look at my any calendar year of my channel, and you see the 52 weeks worth of episodes I've done, of shows I've done, I mean, if you count up out of the 52, how many were, market price, market value oriented? It's a very small minority of all of the shows I do, right? But so you may not be wanting to see these types of shows, but I cover both sides of the market. I mean, I've been a dealer. I am still a dealer. I'm a collector, so this is still the minority of what I do on my channel, right? So it's okay. You don't have to like this type of show. That's okay. But this is representative of only a minority of my content. So we got to cover it because people do, whether any one collector likes it or not. The view numbers tell me that this is some of the most interesting stuff to other collectors, So
there's something to say about that too, which is that, Cab is a sophisticated long-term collector with more money to throw at the hobby than most, honestly, because I see what he buys. He buys a lot of stuff on all these claim shows. And, I don't think that we do this because we're obsessed with price. We do this as a service, not only to people who are new to the hobby, but to remind people that should know better that if you want something, be aware of not overpaying so that you can get the collection that you want to have, right? That what we're saying is, if you love something, and then, all of us will love something else. You can love many things in this hobby. This isn't a marriage. This is something where you can really fall in love with a lot of different items. And so if you want to collect exactly what you want, there are ways that you can get to those pieces that you didn't think you could afford by also getting smarter about the less expensive stuff and sitting on that long enough that you can trade up and maybe get to a point where you can actually go back and buy that whale piece, that grail piece that you never thought you could get. So that's another reason why we do this, Cab.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I try with the content. I've kind of, the ideas I've come up with. I essentially, I'm trying to cover everything that people in the hobby want to sort of listen to, talk about together. So that's it. I just try to cover every sort of angle about it. And that's why, by the way, Cap and everybody else, that's why when we originally started with Stop the Insanity, again, for those of you who don't remember, it was intended to be a 2-part show. We did the 2 episodes because, 2 parts because I had 30 examples. And then I was like, wow, yeah, it might take, we might not have time for this. So I split it 15 examples into 2, each into 2 shows. And then it became super popular. It was the most popular series all of a sudden. I was like, hey, I've got more examples on my hard drive. Let's do more, But I never intended to do anything other than Stop the Insanity. And then I thought, maybe I should do the sort of it's the same principle, right? Because it always boils down to what Matt and I say. Listen, do it for fun. Be happy when your collections grow in value. But in order for that to happen, it's way better off thinking long-term. Just buy what you love, hold it for as long as you possibly can, right? When you do want to cash out, you'll likely make money, right? And
we're not saying buy it and stick it in a closet, no. We're not saying buy it and wait for 10 years and then pull it out and look at it and sell it. We're saying enjoy for 10 years, what you love, live around it, because the longer you live around it and enjoy it, like the stuff that's in back of me, like the stuff that you can't see that's in front of me, that the longer you live with it, the less you've paid for it. Because you have to attribute value to enjoyment. So it's not like you spend $1,000 on something and it's automatically decreasing in value. So even if you sell something for less than $1,000, if you had it on your walls for 10 years, you've paid almost nothing for it anyways. The amount of money you've paid per day to enjoy it and live around it is nebulous. Your wallpaper isn't going to give you that much joy. You probably paid more for it.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of different metrics you can use to look at it. Number 1 metric is enjoyment, always with us. And, I think that if you miss that, then you're missing a lot of what we do. And perhaps it's if you go back and look at all the shows in succession, you'll get that lesson again and again and again. And because, for a while we were doing them fairly close together, we wouldn't do the kind of, wrap up and restating the same thing again and again, because we felt like everybody had seen them. But, because it's been a while now, I think we are getting back and readdressing the principles behind why we do this, why we feel it's an important thing to do, and why this is maybe, the Hold the Gold show is a fun show to do, because it shows that, to the spouses, girlfriends, significant others, family members who are like, why are you spending all that money on that stuff? That it's, because you love it, but just because you love something isn't going to convince somebody else that it's a good idea. It's also this idea that that the things that we love can have value because there's a lot of people like us that are all fighting over this stuff. I'm sorry I missed what Cab's
interesting. Now, Matt, that is the sense of wonder that I am talking about. We are not disagreeing with each other as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I just want to say, guys, keep in mind, again, as the channel owner, I'm not always just thinking about myself and what I want to do to have fun with you guys, my regular viewers, right? Yes, you guys make up the primary audience on the live portions of these shows. But remember, 90% or more of the views actually come on a rewind. And I don't know who those people are. I have no way of knowing who those people are.
Right.
So I never get to know how many new people are watching every episode. Anybody new today? So that's why with these, remember, we call it Hold for the Gold tonight. And then you have Stop the Insanity. But these are sub-series under the greater series called Comic Art 101. Okay? Because this is the series under which we put content which we feel people can benefit from, right? Educational type stuff. And I always have to be thinking there's always somebody new who's watching potentially for the first time. and looking to learn stuff about values. There is always people who are new, and they're like, the first thing they're asking is like, I don't know, how do you guys know the values of stuff? Oh my God, I find it so overwhelming, right? And so this is very educational, and that's why, yes, Kat mentioned earlier, but you know that, yes, I understand, but you're preaching to the converted. You're right, we're preaching, but you're thinking, you're only thinking, Cab, of the people who are here live. Yes, the majority of the live guys, yes, you are the converted. We know. But there's always people watching, even live, who don't type messages, and we don't know who they are. And again, as I say, on Rewind, the majority of people, I don't know who those people are. There's probably new people all the time. So we got to keep preaching just for that reason. It bears repeating all the time, you know? So anyways, let's keep it going. So we don't fall behind. Let me see, Ruben, rewind lurkers. Ruben needs the rewind lurkers. Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, let's keep it going, everybody. And so from Daredevil. Oh, look at this one. Yes. And this one, by the way, I mentioned that some examples show up on different series. So this one is going to show up now. And then it's going to also show up on the next episode of Insanity Wins. Okay, where they flip it. In other words, less than 5-year hold, and they made money, right? The exceptions to the rule, it'll appear there. Okay, so for now, this is a nice example. Check this out. So we got Defenders, number 11 cover by Buscema, purchased and sold in November of 2022. $15,000. Now let me. You know what, guys? Hold on. I may have made a mistake. Let me just check. I want to be sure. If I made a mistake, I want to at least verbally tell you guys that I made a mistake, so we know what we're dealing with. Let me check it up. I'm checking it out. Yes, I thought so. Okay, it was my mistake, everybody. So what I'm going to do actually is I am going to I'm going to show you what happened here with this example, right? But then I'm going to allow Matt, I'll tell you what happened. Matt is going to, say what he wants to say about it. And while he's doing that, he's going to be buying me the time to go and see what and see if I can do what I've done twice in the past, which is correct my, my thumbnail, and see if I could swap it in while we're still talking about this piece. Okay.
Sure.
So let me tell you guys first that this is from 2011.
Okay, there we go. Okay,
so not 2022, so 2011, and so in 2011, I guess I should probably for people, So 2011, everybody, this one, there's a mistake I made on the slide. Okay, I'm going to try to correct it now. 2011, it was purchased for $15,500. And then 11 years later, it sold for $108,000. And netting, assuming, as it says there, assuming no seller fee, netting the seller $74,500, or an 11-year return of 479%. So yeah, you wanna take it from there, Matt?
Let me see it.
See what?
What we're talking about.
But you're not seeing it?
No, none of us are.
What are you looking at?
Just you and me.
What the hell? Okay, now it's you and me for me. But I posted. I saw it covering the screen. Sorry, everybody. Some weird issue with my software. Okay, tell me now.
Nope.
What? Okay. Do you see the first thumbnail?
Just you and me.
Whoa. Holy shit. I remember this happening once before. And I don't know why it was doing it or whatever. I really don't know. But it glitched. And you were telling me that, yeah, the slide wasn't showing. Okay, this is really weird. I don't know what I did last time to try to fix it. Should I try to refresh?
Sure.
Should I refresh my browser?
Maybe. That's going to shut us down, though, isn't it?
I don't think so. If it does, just stay there and
Back
talk
on.
to the fella. Talk to everybody for me. All right. Here we
Okay.
go.
All right.
Here we go. Let me see and wait to see if I disappear, though.
It's all me. So I don't know if you can hear me, Ruben, but it's gone completely 100% screen with me. I will say this though too. So 2011 in May of 2011, and now you're back, Ruben. You've reappeared. In May of 2011,
let me quickly know. You might as well tell me right away. Do you see this?
Now I see what you popped up. Yes.
Okay, let me see. Do you see this? Oh,
I don't see this. I saw the show card pop up, but I didn't see anything else go up. It's just me and you again.
And it's just you and me again here now?
Yep.
Come on, man. Okay. Talk away, man. Talk away. I don't know what to do. It popped
up for a second.
Oh. Hold on.
It was there for just a second.
Is it there now?
Nope.
Come on. How about this?
There it is.
Okay, that's the first one, though.
Okay, yes, so that's November 2022.
That's the mistake. That's supposed to be 2011.
Okay, so in 2011, this Defenders cover with the Surfer and Namor and the Hulk and Doctor Strange fighting some beastie, Buscema. So as I was saying, now it's and then the new card just went up for December 2024.
All right, go ahead and talk about
so for 108,000. So to go back to what I was saying before, so 2011, May 2011 is when I did the very first PopSequentialism show. And it was the first time that there had been a survey of modern comic art that wasn't built around a specific issue that had been hosted in an art gallery. I printed the catalog for it. You can get those catalogs from me if you want to reach out. I usually give them away with any art sale. And 2011 is in a lot of ways the last year where the getting was still good for classic comic art. And by classic, I mean anything that was, like 20 years old or older at that point. That prices were starting to change, but they hadn't become ridiculous yet. And certainly by the time that piece sold in 2022, which was the height of the market, prices had got pretty insane. This person was still able to flip after paying peak market prices in 2022. We're still able to flip it 2 years later for a massive profit increase. So this is, as Ruben says, going against the grain of not holding it long enough. But sometimes a quick flip can work if it's the right thing. But this person certainly could have gotten burned. And they didn't.
Well, again, but that's because it wasn't a quick flip.
Well, you said it was 2022?
No. That's why I said I made a
okay.
I made a mistake. It was 2011, and that's why I had you talk about it now, because I while you're talking, I'm correcting the slides so I can swap it in. Yeah, before we move on,
So just purely 13 years later. Okay, yeah. So 13 years later.
11 years later. So it went from 2011 to 2022. Or is it 24? Sorry.
Yeah, 24, which would be 13 years.
Okay, let me see. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is November. Sorry. So November to November. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I really screwed this one up. Sorry, everybody. But it is actually November 22 here. It was November. Sorry. Let's start. November of 2011, purchased for $15,500. Okay. 11 years later, in November of 2022, that's the actual. So I didn't change it when I copied and pasted the information. It was an 11-year.
Okay.
Yeah, hold and sell. And it went from 15 to a high of 108 with a $75,000 to $74,000 profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so crazy. I am gonna here. I'm gonna delete that here. Sorry, everybody. In the meantime, if you have anything else you'd like to talk to the crowd about, while I try to maybe correct this, that would be awesome.
Well, I would shamelessly plug my PopSequentialism catalog if I had it within easy reach. But
you don't have.
What's great about that is that you can go back and look at what prices were like, because I put prices. It was a show catalog, so everything that was in it has the price that it was marked for in the show. The biggest surprises, I think, were that the oldest piece in the show is 86, I believe, and then the latest piece in the show was probably 2010. And there was the second page from the Joker graphic novel, Liber Mayo. You could have purchased it in my show for $2,000, and I think I ended up selling it for like close to $12,000 a few years back. So that's a massive return on investment, obviously. There's a lot of stuff like that. Some of the pieces didn't go up that dramatically, but by and large, most of them did. It's the rule of hold for the gold, but also that buy good stuff. Like everything in that show was from a classic collaboration from a great writer and a great artist. So that where each party is as important to the success of the series. Every piece in that show were Eisner Award winners or nominees. And that's another aspect. That was the most important aspect to my collecting, is that I was looking for award-winning stuff and the stuff that I like to read, and wanted the good pages that I could get. And as I started getting the idea for that show, which took, in a roundabout term, it took 20 years to put together, or 30 years to put together. But as I started taking pages from my collection and wanting to offer people really good things, I had to buy stuff. As a gallerist, you never do this. You never buy the pieces that are in the show. You have them on consignment, and they sell or they don't. You send them back to the artist. But with comic art, to get pieces earmarked for a show like that, I had to physically and actively purchase them and hold them until we had this show. And I sold very few pieces in that first exhibition.
Oh, really?
Yeah, during the show, I think we only sold about 4 or 5 pieces. By the end of that year, a lot of them had sold. And then in the next couple of years, people were starting to reach out and ask if pieces were still available. And I would tell them, yeah, but not at the prices that were in that catalog.
Right.
And things changed. And it represents a really good and rare record of where the hobby was at a certain point. And aside from auction catalogs, there's really not a lot of sources for that type of thing. So, if you're interested in that type of thing, and the other aspect to all of this, and why I felt like I needed to publish it, is that I had written so much about each page that I couldn't let it live only online. Like, I wanted to make sure that it was actually published, because in the fine art world, usually you just have the artist, the title of the piece, a description of the media, the measurements, and the price. And you can't do that with comic art. You have to explain why this particular page of the many means something, or means more than something else from that same issue, or that same character, or that same writer, or that same artist. And so I had to explain that to these people that were used to buying fine art. And that became the kind of impetus, for deciding to publish it as a catalog.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Running interference for me, especially. I know it's tough. That's what happens with live television, though, right? It's from time to time. So I appreciate that, Matt, man. Sorry, everybody. That was tough. But to make it official, everybody, let's just do this quickly again. We don't have to keep talking about it, but got to make it official for the people who watch on Rewind. All right. So let's just hope it shows now, though. That's the problem. I got the corrections made. Let's hope they show. Please tell me this shows.
Well, I learned all my filibuster from Anthony's dad, Jimmy the Greek. So,
okay. Are you seeing anything?
No.
Oh my God. StreamYard.
The world is against our 3.5 hour time limit.
Holy crap, guys. I'm so sorry. This time it's not the mistake, the typing mistakes were certainly my fault, but technical things, this is as I don't know what to tell you, man. Oh, let me see if you can see some of them and not on all of them. Let's see.
See it. See
Let's
it.
Oh, what do you mean? See, you said
And now back to us.
Huh?
So there were you flashed two things. There was the Defenders cover, and then there was the show card, and then there was us.
Oh my God, the Defenders showed up. I didn't even touch it this time. It must be on some weird delay where it's like super slow. Hold on.
You know what you should do? If you have a phone that you can watch YouTube on without the volume on, you can see what's actually broadcasting live versus what we're looking at in here. Or what you're seeing, I guess, because I'm seeing the live
I do have
broadcast.
it. I have it in a different browser, so I don't switching in and out is just a pain in the ass, easier for me to ask you. So you're saying, okay, so right now you can't
I can see that.
Okay.
November 2011, $15,000.
November 2011, $15,000. All right.
Yeah.
And now what about this?
Nope.
Oh, come on.
Not up.
Unbelievable. Let me see. Sorry, guys. Let me see. There's another section where I can add stuff to the software.
Actually, wait a minute. So, okay, so now they can see it. Apparently, we can't see it in here.
Oh, wow, that's crazy though, because if we can't see it, we don't know if it's up. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm gonna leave.
Let me
version on my phone live so that we can see what's actually appearing.
Let me ask you guys. Let me jump into the so Hermit Style. Thank you. You can see it. Okay, so you can see it. It's fine. Okay, let me ask you guys though. At the beginning, when Matt first said, "I'm not looking at anything," right, and I was talking. Were you guys seeing it or not? Like, was there ever a time where I thought it was up there and you guys...
Going back and seeing a comment from Shaggy, it says it's only Ruben and Matt. We see it. They think I'm fucking with you. That's funny.
We've been seeing it. Okay. Okay. You know what? You guys... You guys watching live have always been, you guys know you're as much a part of every show as me and whoever's with me in the studio. So I'm going to need you to be partners again. And unfortunately, every time you hear me say, okay, let's take a look. All right. Oh yeah, but here's the thing, that doesn't help because if Matt can't see, we can't talk about it.
Well, I'm gonna have it on my phone, even though it's delayed, so at least I'll know that it's up.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you'll be looking at it on YouTube.
Yes.
Through the YouTube. Okay. Okay, and the chat will tell. Right. So you guys let us know if there's any problem. Okay. Okay. All right. Sounds good.
Past episodes have shown us that sometimes we can't trust the chat, but
that's the thing. Hermit Style says he's seen it every time. Always saw
That's what it's. I've seen it in the comments.
Okay, I see it. Okay, all right, guys. So yeah, so I will also, when I pop it up, I will go over to my other browser and see if I'm seeing it as well. Okay. Even though there's a 10-second broadcast delay, so it's not like it really helps. Matt's jury rig saves the day. Talking the cab. Okay. All right. So let's keep it moving. Damn it. I got to catch up and we got to talk less so we can catch up. And you know what? Now that I just uploaded it in a different way, I want to see. This is just for me, guys. For me and Matt. Let me see if this helps. Let's see what happens here. Oh, it's a different way of doing it. You know what? Who knows? Maybe I should do them all this way. I don't know. But yeah, so there you go, everybody. So November, again, in 11 years, 108,000, an incredible profit of 74,000. Amazing. Now, again, this is what you can definitely call, what do you call it? I'm so frazzled by what happened. An exception to the rule. Right, an exception to the rule. Not everything, obviously, even if you hold for 11 years, is going to go up to that type of for almost 500%.
Right.
But very, very, very good example of something that could happen to you. So okay, let me then get rid of that. And, we'll go to the next one here. The next one is our first DC one, everybody. Please let us know if this shows. And, of course, Matt, let me know, yes or no, if it shows up. All right. It's going to be a flash. And here we go. Nothing. Okay, Matt, if you don't see anything after a second after me
now
saying...
they're both up. Now they're both up.
Okay, what do you mean both?
I can see it on our version of it, and I can see it live.
Oh, okay.
So I was waiting for it to see if it popped up in the live, even if I couldn't see it, because then we can still talk about it.
Okay,
May
cool.
2019, paid $33.60, Heritage.
So
Saviuk, McLaughlin.
To catch everybody, thank you. To catch up, everybody, we won't talk too much about what the first price paid was, but we'll just take a few seconds just so you guys can all take in the information, right? So yeah, May of 19, $3,300. Now this is a very, very interesting one. All right. We've talked about what could happen. It's not, and this is again, what you're going to see happen here is a wonderful example as to why it's so important to hold for as long as you can. Okay. So 3360. And then let's hope that you guys all see this. Let's hope Matt sees this. Here we go. So, Matt, do you see this?
I see it on the live
broadcast.
Perfect. I don't see it in our chat.
Yeah, that's fine. As long as you see it somewhere, it's good. So here we have in March 2026. So that's this month, right?
Yep.
So it took 6 years and 10 months. So just under 7 years, right? And check it out. It only sold for $4,400 after the fees. He only profited $600, okay? And that's on a $3,300 purchase and for a percentage gain of only 17, just under 18% after almost 7 years. So more, right, Matt, like what I was saying about how it's just another example of like why, hey, you got to hold as long as you possibly can. And especially if you have things that are, not the hottest, now this is not the hottest only in terms of the fact that it's DC versus Marvel, right? But in terms of DC, hey, you've got great content. You got like 4 of the top characters at DC.
Basically a Justice League page, except that it's a Flash page.
Right,
but
exactly.
From a journeyman artist, not like an artist that everybody gets super excited about.
Sure.
But it's a title page too.
But still, it's a title splash, right? From the 1970s, late 70s or whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's some stuff, it just won't move like you think it will move, And I don't think that it was overpriced in 2019 at whatever $3,300 price he paid. I just think it's one of those things. Sometimes they just, the stuff that doesn't have, the stuff like, again, DC versus Marvel, less popular artist versus a hot artist, that whole thing. Sometimes character content isn't enough to carry it, and make it.
There's another aspect to this as well. And I think that page is a good example of what I'm going to explore, which is that Marvel always had a kind of long-term, you'd have artists and writers who would work on a title for a very long time and build up an amazing fan base of people that got very, very involved in the characters. In that same time frame in the 1970s, DC was seemingly just maintaining the copyright on the characters, like just kind of cranking out another thing. In that era of DC comic storytelling in the 1970s, there was nothing really particularly exciting about that stuff. The circulation on all those comics really started to fall, while the circulation at Marvel was starting to rise. And then there's the other aspect, and I do not say this as any kind of dig on people who are collecting Marvel comics, but the modern DC art collector has a really sophisticated sense of what they collect. That they collect really particular runs, meaning that generally speaking, the stuff that goes way up in value on DC Comics are very beloved, well-written stories, as opposed to just wanting pages with the characters. Now, to go back and pay a little bit of a compliment to the Marvel collectors is that you kind of got spoiled at Marvel, that even what we might consider less exciting Spider-Man art, like I grew up on that Ross Andrew stuff. I
Right.
think Ross Andrew was an amazing storyteller when it came to not just the way he composed his covers, but the way that he did his panel assortment. And while his technical ability might not have been to the level of some of the more exciting artists that worked on Spider-Man, there's still really great textbook examples of why Spider-Man is a beloved character. So there's, what works for one isn't the thing that works for the other necessarily, but they're related. The fact that the writers on the storytelling in Spider-Man, there was such great continuity for years until it got off the rails. But again, if you compare it to DC, who had been around 25 years longer, they had started to get off the rails earlier, but in scope, kind of with how long they were around as a company. So you're looking at an era of DC that wasn't particularly exciting. And I mean, honestly, DC were probably getting as much attention for those characters on 7-Eleven cups as they were, in their comics from that era.
That's very true. That's very true. Still, I think even you would agree that, after, how many years was that? What were we
11 or 13? Oh, that was,
let me see.
it was like 6 years.
Yeah. I think it was six years. What, 2018? I think it was. I think you would have thought like, okay, it might not double in price because, it is a DC, but you would have thought, I don't know, 40, 50, 60%, well, something like that, just because of the time factor and the fact that it still is a splash with, big name characters from DC. But yeah, sometimes it doesn't work out, So, but that's why I say all the more reason, buy it because you love it, but think about long-term, because sometimes it's a minimum of 5 years we've seen, right? Minimum of 5 years, we always say, but sometimes it's even like much longer, significantly longer than that, before you finally, suddenly you finally made a decent profit. You know what I mean? So
that was a decent page. I mean, like, it really is a very decent page. Like it has everything you would kind of want on a DC page, where it's got, like you say, the 4 marquee name characters all on one page. It's a splash page. It's a title page. It's got the beautiful Flash treatment, the title treatment. The Flash had a great title treatment, but it's from a really downturned era.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Evgeny.
Hey, Evgeny.
Okay, so let's keep it rolling. I love DC, but they're DC list characters. Okay, so the next one. And while we're talking, I'm kind of like trying to upload in a different way that I can upload, and I think it'll work better for us. So yeah, the next one is, here's Hydra. I don't know if you're still around, Hydra. You haven't said anything for a while, so I'm assuming you left, which is a shame, because every time I post a page of yours, that relates to you, you've gone, you've left. But here we go, everybody. So let's check this out. So House of Mystery.
Beautiful House of Mystery.
235 cover. Purchased in August of 2010 for barely over $1,300. Great example of what I was mentioning earlier about how certain things, just take forever to finally find an audience, right? And that's what mystery, the DC horror and mystery stuff from the 70s, it took forever. And it's only in the last few years that it suddenly, seemingly overnight, started popping in value, these covers, So there you go. So this was 15 and a half years ago, only $1,300 that it cost back then in 2010. And then it sold again in April of 24. So 14 years, 4 months, right? So this is a nice long hold, right? The guy enjoyed it for a long time, and it sold for $9,000. And here's the thing, everybody. When this sold, and a few other covers about, from these DC mystery titles, when they started selling around 2020, I don't know if it started in either 22 or 23, maybe something like that. It literally felt like it was overnight. It's not like they were $3,000 and then they suddenly went to like $4,000 and there were multiple sales at $4,000, right? And then multiple sales at 4.5 to 5, and then a few more at 5 to 6. No, that didn't happen. One day, they were like 3 to 4 ish, and then all of a sudden, one day, one of them sells at auction for like more like 8 or 9 grand, you know. And then the next one, the same thing, and then the next one, 11, 12, you know. It literally almost overnight. It was just crazy. So great example.
There's a lot to this. So like 2019-20 was when a lot of the comic collecting YouTubers and influencers were really starting to talk heavily about pre-code horror. Like that, this younger generation of collectors, people that are much younger than us, got really, really excited about collecting pre-code horror. And I think at a certain point, really savvy people were looking around and saying, well, my gosh, that stuff has really gotten out of range. And honestly, if you look at this Louis Dominguez cover and you were to compare it to an EC comic cover of the 1950s, this could be that. You know, like the level of detail is just as good as Johnny Craig or Ghastly Graham Ingalls or Jack Davis. And so like to be able to get something like this for even at $9,000 in 2024, like that seems like, sure, of course, like I would expect that to be 10 grand, you know, like because it's beautiful.
That's a beautiful one. So,
and I mean, who knows who Louis Dominguez is? I have no idea who this guy is. I assume he's somebody that Joe Orlando, when he was starting to recruit at Warren Publications and was also an editor at DC, really helping to establish that Bronze Age horror line, found either in the Philippines or in Spain, and got a lot of exceptionally talented people, you know, to work at DC. You know, the way that, you know, Garcia Lopez, you know, I think he only worked on 2 Marvel characters ever. You know, he stayed at DC because they treated him well, because there was always work for a talented illustrator. And this guy is sort of second, you know, like next level. If you to compare him to the journeyman of Marvel or DC at the time, this is exceptional work.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And you make a great point. It is the next sort of level down for people who want mystery / horror. Right, if you can't afford the EC stuff, this is kind of the next thing.
Kaluta.
Yeah. I mean, this is kind of the next, you know, the 70s DC stuff is kind of the next thing that came along, right?
I mean, this is even cheaper than Nick Cardy. You know, like, and Nick Cardy was sort of a consolation prize for people who couldn't afford the rights and Kaluta covers of that era. And I love Cardy's work, and I'm not ripping on him, but he was certainly not as appreciated, you know, for any of his work, the way that Wrightson and Jones and Kaluta were for their DC comic art, for their mystery stuff. And at a certain point, just prior to this, the Cardy stuff exploded and started going for $20,000, $30,000. And people realized, I mean, his romance covers, Cardy's romance covers are exceptionally difficult to find. If you're a guy that's collecting a little bit of everything and you want like a really great, you know, well after the time of romance comics being relevant, you know, in the late 60s, early 70s, then you got like 3 guys you're going to go for. You want Giordano, you want Cardy, you know, you want some of the guys that were ripped off, you know, 10 years earlier, you know, by the pop artists. And that stuff is getting really, really out of range. You know, quick tip, if you're looking for something that's undervalued and you want to, and you enjoy it, you genuinely enjoy it, and you're willing to sit on it for a while, romance comic art from the 60s and 70s is a massive bargain, as is Western art from that era.
Yep. Those are some of the, in terms of genres, if we're just going with genre, I mean, look, now we can no longer say the DC mystery stuff is still affordable. I mean, it can still go up over time, right? In the usual speed that we're used to, but no longer a sudden
A 9K
jump where you're gonna
buy-in
make
is
a
very
ton of money.
different than a $2,000 buy-in. Yeah. And I mean, and you can get awesome romance art for under $1,000. You can get awesome Western stuff. I mean, like I say, the European collectors really love American Western art, and so they've been buying it all along. But you know, people don't necessarily put it out for sale because they don't think it's valuable. So that is the stuff that's like sitting in like files, you know, in mass people who have massive collections. I'm sure like Berkey's probably got like entire file cabinets full of romance and Western art that he would never go through the trouble of scanning and tossing on the site because it's just not worthwhile to him.
Right. I want to say hello to Fool Ass Earthman, who's back again. He must have enjoyed what he saw. What up, Fool Ass?
Nice.
And Steve Mussolino, back again. What's good, Steve?
Hey.
Thank you. And as always, the welcome wagon, Peter Rowe. Okay, so yeah, that's great. So we'll see at least one more example of something that was very, cheap for a long time. That's coming later, everybody. But this was one of those examples where everybody kept saying, "Nah, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to touch." You know what I mean? Again, people, yes, they generally buy what they like, but a lot of collectors also in their head want to feel like they're buying stuff that still has like room to grow value-wise, And for so many years, that's what it was with the DC mystery horror stuff. It was just like, even the people that liked it were like, but it's just because I guess when you see psychologically, when you see something never goes up in price, like it just seems dead, it just has this negative connotation to it, right? And it just makes
Archie artwork for years.
Right.
It just stayed the same price and then it exploded. I mean, try and find funny animal art from the 1950s. Like, I don't know anybody that collects it, but I never see it.
Exactly. So there you go. But again, for those of you who for a long time thought you liked the DC mystery horror stuff, but maybe blew it off because you were like, but I don't know, it's just dead, It eventually caught you off guard, and pretty much, like I said, overnight, suddenly, ba-boom, now it's holy crap, is that stuff like pricey,
And while we were sleeping on it because it wasn't Wrightson, right? Like, I really like that, but that's not Wrightson, and then it's like, well, now that's getting to where Wrightson was 15 years earlier.
Exactly. Yep. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one, everybody. And for that, we will jump from the DC stuff back to Marvel. And let's check this one out. So Hulk, 222, page 23, half splash. It's that classic
names
issue.
On that.
Sorry?
Look at the names on this.
Yeah. That's the classic issue, though, where it's a Jim Starlin, which was weird for the Hulk. And it's a penciler I love, an inker I love, but whose styles were clashing so that, of course, the penciler
wrong for the Hulk. Yeah,
the penciler gets overpowered, but still, it's such a cool looking thing, because the Hulk, if you've seen Jim Starlin's Hulk, you can tell that the body, the physique, the musculature, if you're familiar with his Hulk, that's what it looks like. But if you're not that familiar with it, you wouldn't never know that it's Jim Starlin. Whereas you can immediately tell that the finish line work is Alcala, So it's pretty wild. But $727, everybody. That seemed normal at the time for a Hulk splash from this period. And then, so that was 2009, $727 at Heritage, by the way. Then it sold 16 years later. Talk about buy and hold, right, Matt? 16 years later, he held it for a long time, decided to sell it, sends it back to Heritage, and it sells for $6,562, which even after the heavy fees, right? $4,500 profit. I mean, 621% return after 16 years. I mean, there you go. It does seem to, the artwork seems to go up exponentially as you get closer to not only the 10-year mark, but beyond, especially beyond, right?
This is kind of an ugly page, right? Like, I mean, there's great elements to it, and I love the lettering on it. But when I think Jim Starlin, like you say, it's like nothing about this says this is a Jim Starlin page. So maybe we can conjecture that because it's a Jim Starlin page, it's getting those numbers because Jim Starlin's work at Marvel in that era is going through the roof. Like if you can't afford a Thanos page, if you can't afford a Captain Marvel page, and Dreadstar wasn't your jam, then you're left with something like this. And this is, for other Starlin work in that era, this is cheap.
Yeah. Again, with the understanding that most people realize, well, because it doesn't look the quality of the line, the finished line, it doesn't look like his, right? So it's understandable, right? But amazing. I'm happy that whoever this was capitalized. I mean, nice. I love seeing that, right, Matt? Because like we always talk about it. Like you see, you look at the auctions and there's so many pieces. You think, oh, I've seen that. Wasn't that just on auction like in the last 3 years or whatever? So it's nice to see things like, wow, 16 years later. Like yes, we need more people like that. And yeah. You definitely benefit a lot greatly when you do that. So that's fantastic. Sean says, I'm always wondering if the seller of these pieces is in the chat. Well, I can tell you that, Sean, usually if they were in the chat, I think most people would sort of say, hey, that was me. There was a time when Rick Welch, who's not here tonight, one of his rare misses, he said, hey, that was me who sold that one. And I think it was I think it might have been on one of the Insanity shows. And he said, that was me. And then I had a guy who reached out to me privately, or it was either privately or he left a comment on the video. I can't remember, to tell me that one of the, it was a Fantastic Four splash, you guys maybe remember, from the late 80s, Keith Pollard, and it was a 3-panel page, 3 widescreen panels of the Silver Surfer coming at you. And in each panel, he gets progressively closer to you.
Remember that page?
You remember that, right? Yeah. That piece actually made a couple of our shows in the past for different reasons. And he reached out to me, and thankfully he was like, LOL. I'm the one who bought that one. And it was on an episode where most of us were saying, like, I don't know. It seems like it might be a little high now what these people are paying,
Didn't he buy it like right ahead of the Fantastic Four movie or something?
That I don't know. But he did tell me he owned it now, whatever. And, he likes it.
Surfer collector. It's a great surfer page, You can't.
We all said that. We all agreed that we love the page, right? So, so I told him, look, you hold on long enough. I think you'll be fine. So that's it, But for the most part, Sean, if they're here, they don't typically reveal it. Let's leave it there, This is a fantastic one. Marcus says, low profit for 16 years. I don't know about you, but I don't know too many.
621%. I mean, show me another 600% gain. We do this show all the time. That's rare.
Yeah, most stocks haven't gone up 621% in the last 16 years. So there you go. But that's a pretty amazing return, I think. And congratulations to you, Mr. Seller, whoever sold it, and good luck to you, Mr. Whoever paid for it. Enjoy it. I hope you enjoy it for many, many years, and then eventually also profit from it. Okay. And and Lee was one of the guys who told me about the the win on one of the Stop the Insanity shows as well. Thank you, Lee. Yeah. But very few people have admitted. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so let me, I'm still doing it this new way, everybody, so bear with me. I gotta then this new way that I do it, where I'm putting them this way, there's only a certain amount I can put at any given time, and then I gotta remove them from the studio. I'm basically putting them in as if they were guests in the studio. So I'm gonna pop in a couple more. And the next one is going to be we're gonna head back to DC, and this one will also be a good example of perhaps the difference between Marvel and DC, but how sometimes you can have something that's quiet for the longest time and it doesn't really go anywhere price wise. And then suddenly, I don't know, people kind of wake up to it, I guess you can call it. Yeah. So we'll see and we'll talk about it. So okay, so this next one is, check this out. The cover to Justice League Europe, number 14, which was purchased back in 2014 for $776.
They got a deal. They got a deal in 2014 for Bart Sears cover artwork.
I don't know. I think at the time, well, here's the thing. Don't forget the one element you're forgetting, Matt. It was lower than you normally would have been, but because this is considered, no offense to everybody, but I just got to say it the way I always say it. This is considered content-wise a crappy cover for obvious reasons, I think, right? I mean, your eyes go to the giant, the claw, whatever, the dinosaur claws or whatever. And even though a large part of the team is there, they're at the bottom, you mainly notice the claw, right? The dinosaur claw. So that's why. So it was considered a lower content quality piece. So that obviously affected it at the time, right? But still, 776, right? Let's see.
I mean, at this point, I thought it was a great cover when it was in the newsstand, and I was reading Justice League Europe because I was reading Justice League, and I remember being a bigger Maguire fan, but seeing Bart Sears as a more than competent person to follow him up. That it was decent art, but Sears was like in 2014. I got to think there were a lot of Sears collectors out there that were snatching up everything.
I mean, I know that Caesar could tell us. Caesar loves Bart Sears and he likes Justice League Europe. So, yeah, I don't know. Marvel fan Tom says he thinks this is cheap. Marvel fan though, were you collecting back in 2014? Were you already in the hobby? I don't remember when you started. Yeah, but anyway, let's see what happened. And so we went, so let's see. So yeah, so that was 15, just a little over 15 years ago. I'm sorry, a little over 11 years ago, 776. And then resold this month for 30.
Seems cheap.
It still seems cheap to you. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, for this example, I don't feel so. I feel like that's more than enough for the content quality of this example.
I get the team is small, but it's also really in keeping with the era and the fun of it. And it's supposed to be, film going through a projector. So like conceptually, it's interesting. And that alone, I think, would make this a bit more valuable. But I whoever bought this month, I think you got a good deal. Really? Like I honestly think that, certainly hang on to it, but it's a beautiful piece.
Well, interesting. Okay. Interesting take from Matt, everybody. We have opposing views on it. I mean, I like it, but I still take the view of, what does the majority of people think? And I think about it from the point of view of, all my years as a seller. And that's what I mean by that, is that thinking of it that way, this is the type of piece that, most people would consider a lesser quality example for Justice League Europe because of the content taking up.
It's a lesser title, for sure. It's a lesser title, and I think that's probably the biggest.
I don't even mean by that because Justice League Europe, when it came out, was really popular. Justice League was hot because Kevin Maguire was on it.
Yep.
And then this came out and people were loving the Bart Sears art, So it was popular at the time. So I don't look at it that way. I don't think the title has anything to do with it. I just think, people are looking for, they want the characters on the cover, but way larger than what you see at the bottom. And, they don't want just some dinosaur paw taking up half the cover. So that's what I think is the main problem with it,
Very well drawn dinosaur.
Tom Tom thinks that for a cover, it's cheap.
Yeah, that's my point. Like that for a
Cover.
Copper Age cover like this to go for less than $4,000 from well, Bart Sears isn't A-list. He's at least B plus.
Yeah, for sure. But look at Caesar. Caesar saying, and he's a big fan of Bart's work in Justice League Europe. He says it's not a great cover. I didn't bid on it in either auction, as I already have better JLE.
Well, he's got better, so like he's a bad example of a layman's opinion on it.
No, but he would add another one to his collection if he thought it was considered a good example content wise.
Sure.
So Nick sales God, your spelling is awful. Nick sells modern covers from his books for this much. Who's Nick? What do you mean?
Nick at DXP.
He sells covers.
He sells covers for less than this. Or I don't know. They went off the screen, so
I don't know. Caesar says he doesn't think it went cheap the first time. It was about right. Yeah, that's what I think. Around that time, that's what I was saying. So you're agreeing with me. It did go cheap in the last auction. Wow. So even you're with Matt on that. You think it's cheap at $37.54? Wow. Okay, I'm surprised. Would this sell on the dealer site for $3,800? Asks Mike. I don't know. I mean, that's the question, right? Matt and Caesar think so, apparently, since they think this seems cheap to them. Yeah. So I don't know. No brutes and babes that we expect. It's investment worthy for sure. Wow. I would not say that, but hey, I love the fact that we all have we're coming to it from various opinions here. Marcus saying terrible investment.
I wouldn't say hot dogs.
I wouldn't call it terrible, but yeah, I'm certainly more in Marcus's camp than in Tom's camp, saying that it's a
hot dogs are a terrible investment, Marcus.
Peter saying not a fan of the cover. DC low competition. Yep, yeah. I'm more with you. I'm
a very polarizing cover. Who knew? Who knew?
Yeah,
makes it fun to talk about.
It is. It definitely is. It's really, really fun.
Actually. And I respect everybody's opinion on it because it's one of those right down the middle things. Like it's easy to feel a certain way about it, and I don't think anybody's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Steve says I enjoyed the book and remember the cover fondly. Again, feeling fond about the cover because you were enjoying the book is different from being an art collector and you want to buy some Justice League Europe examples. And the way you look at the cover content, that's totally different,
That's also the most important building block from one becoming the other.
It is true. But again, it's all about also the ratio of the price to content quality of the cover, right?
But I think conceptually it's an interesting cover. So that's where I understand by all the criteria why people don't like it, that the figures are too small. I get that. But because it's a film strip, which was super uncommon covers of its day, the only other film strip I can think of from that era is 2000 AD. The GR and Quinch, Mind the Orange is Marlin, and not a whole lot of covers that were conceptually something else like that. So I would put that from that point of view, I would have to compare it to the George Perez Teen Titans covers that were so conceptual. Granted, it's George Perez. He also made the main characters a very important part of those covers, but it was different. And so having something that different from that era makes it not just a piece that's, from a Bart Sears run on back then, probably a top 10 monthly comic because Justice League Europe was doing very well in circulation at the time, but that it becomes a really important game-changing cover of the era. It represents a change in the way that comic covers were starting to look at DC and at Marvel. And I think that the longer we get away from that, historically, that cover is going to become more important.
Okay. Some great talk, guys. I love it. So thank you. Thanks, Matt. And thanks to all of you because, I never expected what is typically considered, again, with that type of content, that layout, a lesser example of a title's covers. Never
and lesser characters. they are lesser characters. You know, like the biggest name in that cover is Flash, and the second biggest name is Power Girl. So, you know, I can understand that from a, you know, a character value point of view, that's basically like the Defenders of DC, right?
Yeah,
Although even the Defenders, they're important characters. It's just the book wasn't, you know, incredibly well received.
Yeah, don't get offended, Tom. Don't get offended. A big Defenders lover that he is. Steve, just so you know, I kept it up. Matt says, you guys are way better than the Oscars. And I'm sure this has been said.
All right.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Hey, what's up? John C. in the house. Billy Batson. Yeah, I don't know what. Yeah, okay. This piece is not golden, but you can hold. That guy held for the gold, though. He held for the gold. Made a fantastic profit. So that's good, you know. Okay, let's go to the next one. And what do we got here? Yes. We got Miss Marvel, everybody. Miss Marvel. Let's check this out. So we got Miss Marvel number 18 cover, which in 2019, exactly the month, 1 year before COVID hit us, which was purchased for 21. You know what? I'm getting flashbacks, Matt. This is, it's I don't know about the month, but the same year, and I think almost exactly the same price as the first piece from tonight, the Romita Jr. Layton Spider-Man cover. I think it was also 2019.
Yeah, so a year before COVID hit. Yeah.
Yeah, purchased for about 21, just over 21 grand or whatever, right?
And I would say that in March 2019, a Cockrum Ms. Marvel cover for over $20,000 was at the very height of the market.
You thought you thought at this time you thought it was considered very high?
I think that was at not too high, but like at the height of the market for this type of thing. It's dynamic though. It's a very dynamic cover. I don't love it, but it is Cockrum, you know, and it's Cockrum with at least, you know, the Vision and the Scarlet Witch on it. You got Wonder Man and Yellow Jacket. So it's almost an Avengers cover, which is sort of rare for him too. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what happened here, everyone. So yes, this is now what, seven years ago, but let's see when it sold and see what happened. So 6 years later, 6 years in a month. So 6 years sold for it's
peel all the dressing off of it.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you guys something. So there's a scan available. I believe since I already had that other scan with the title stats, I just wanted to have one that showed the art without the title stats, you know. But I'm sure
we're missing the text at the bottom. Both were missing that even Avengers can die. So that was even missing from the original.
Oh yeah, they didn't add that. Interesting, because it's a remade stat. It's a replacement. Yeah, you know. But you guys will see something very interesting here. All right.
It's a hard one to lay in. Well, that's it. That's different looking. Look at that. That crackle around Ms. Marvel and the crackle around her fist. Completely covered by the title treatment. Interesting.
Yeah. But anyways, let's focus on the profit that this guy made 6 years later. First of all, 45,000 after paying 21 in 6 years. You know, of course, it encompasses the COVID era and all that. Probably makes sense. What do you think about that, Matt, in terms of just what it sold for? Like, it probably makes sense, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. You know, the Cockrum stuff went way up in price, you know, within that amount of time. And Ms. Marvel, like, it's interestingly enough, Cockrum's Ms. Marvel work, I think, is more respected over time than it ever was. And while people aren't super excited about, you know, Brie Larson, so I should say a certain very vocal portion of the community, and I don't know whether they're, you know, the majority or the minority, don't seem to be super jazzed about Brie Larson, that people still like this era of Cockrum. You know, Cockrum wasn't a super, you know, prolific artist. He worked on a couple of titles for a very long time. And, you know, and back at X-Men, Ms. Marvel is kind of it, you know?
Well, Legion of Superheroes. Don't forget that. He did have a run on Legion.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I mean, at Marvel, obviously, not at DC.
Yeah. But either way, for me, I'm thinking, man, like if I'm the guy who got it in 2019 and I sent it in, yeah, I sent it into Heritage, right? With, and we're okay. Slightly before they changed the buyer seller's fee, but still, you get rid of that seller's fee and you get your money back, which again was over 21 grand, plus almost 17K in your pocket for the privilege of having enjoyed it for the 6 years. That's pretty sweet, right? Yep. Yeah, man, I love that. I think that's fantastic. So yeah, good move, whoever you are.
And apparently a smart move to remove the added-on trade dress.
Well, and not that I want to, because I think we've been doing a good job trying to catch up here, and I don't want to belabor this, and so we can slow down. But let me just quickly show you guys, because I think it's worth showing. I have one more scan here. I'm going to show you what it used to look like. Okay, what it originally used to look like. Check this out.
What?
Yeah. Well, it was very, very yellowed because they originally, it had been inked on vellum and then glued down, cut out and glued down to a board, right? And that's not the board. That's not probably the original board there. It looks too clean to me, but I don't know for a fact, right? But yeah, it was yellow for that reason. And then a dealer at some point got their hands on it, got it restored. So the vellum, got rid of all the glue staining on the back. And that's why it went from that to looking more like this now,
Wow.
But yes, the point I wanted to make was that, it makes me wonder sometimes if the person who sees it like this now, right, today, with all the treatment, the title treatment and everything, it makes me wonder, because in this hobby, as you know, Matt, so many people who sell are not forthcoming about stuff like this. And it makes me wonder if the person who owns it looking like this in their portfolio or their wall today, if they even have a clue that it started off looking more like this,
Amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Look at that. Yeah. Oh my. Vellum. Yikes. Peter's glad you showed that, Ruben. Well, yeah, I mean, I've always been all about full disclosure, guys. You know that. So I figured I had the proof of it, so might as well show it. Alberto says, I suspect the dealer won it in 2019, got it clean before selling. Listen, I don't know. That's just speculation as to who the buyer in 2019 was. But yes, it was definitely a dealer that's, who did it, MLB says, as a white paper quality supremacist, that's a turnoff. Yeah. Would restorations hurt the value? No, because it definitely sells better the way it is now than it would if you sold it this way, looking like this, what it originally looked like. It's not about the fact that it's restored, Shaggy. The problem is, again, it's full disclosure. It's about disclosure. It's why don't you at least tell people, yes, it's a lot better looking now. You improved it. But why are you so scared to admit that you improved it and that it looks like this, right? That's my problem. Let me know. Let me know that it looked like this once. I'd be cool with it, So doesn't matter, right? That's the point at this point, Let's see. Okay, and sorry. Let me see who else. That wouldn't bother. Stacey, there you go, Sean. That wouldn't bother me with the art restoration cleaning. Yeah, exactly.
Different than the way that comics grade restoration down with the green label or purple label. See, did I call that?
Yeah,
did I call that?
Right? Yeah, you called it. I was just looking at that.
Marcus, I just wanted to let you know you're so predictable that in our private chat I said waiting for Marcus to talk about the corners, and you did not disappoint.
No, listen, Caesar is saying it wouldn't necessarily have to be a dealer. A collector would have done the same thing.
Not would have, but could have. Could have. I don't think. Right. Yeah.
Right. I didn't say, Caesar. I'm always very careful with my words. I never said, and then a dealer took it, bought it, and did that. No, I said a dealer likely at some point got their hands on it and did it, because it's usually the dealers who do that. We know this for a fact. We see them do it all the time. Collectors, yes, sometimes they do it, but as a percentage of the entire hobby, it's less than 1% of collectors that will ever go out of their way to send their art into some restoration person and spend the money to do this kind of stuff. So that's why I'm saying it's likely a dealer, and I'm not wrong about that. Yeah. Okay. So now let me remove these from the studio. Okay, and then I got my next one up here. We'll go right to that one. And check this one out, everybody. Jim Lee, baby. Jim Lee in the house. Punisher War Journal. Number 4 cover, early cover. But for only 11, at the time I remember thinking, oh, wow, these things are getting pricey. But 11 grand, November 2016. Jim Lee, inked by Carl Potts. That was his mentor at Marvel. Yeah, very memorable cover. Very memorable cover. Although to me, I hated the fact, anytime he was out of costume, I hated it. I was like, to me, this is just obviously you see the helicopter there. This is like a scene out of Norem, right? But Jim Lee fans and Punisher fans, they for the most part don't seem to care. It's kind of like, oh yeah, Punisher War Journal, Punisher whatever title, I'll buy it, I'll pay for it, So 11 grand again, guys. About what we're calling this.
And remember, you do get him in costume up in the corner box.
What's that? Oh, I got him in the corner box.
In the corner box.
Yeah. The stat, unfortunately, right? But yeah, so a little over 9 years ago, guys, and let's take a look at what happened after the 9-year hold. Wow. It's sold at Heritage, and so it both times was Heritage. So after 8 years, 10 months, so yeah, just under 9 years, sold $60,000 is what what the new buyer had to pay to get it. So that means it was 48,000 when you remove the buyer's premium, 25%. Or I guess at this time it was whatever, the 19.5%. Either way, sold for $60,000. The owner, the seller, still got his 11,000 back plus 36,000 and a half as a profit for a 322% return.
And it's important to note here that in both cases, that's the going rate. Like there's nothing surprising about this, that what that person paid when they first bought it was the going rate for Jim Lee Punisher War Journal covers. And when it sold in September 2025, $60,000 is what you could expect to pay for a Punisher War Journal cover that didn't have Wolverine on it. Yeah. So this is just a natural progression of the value of that particular artist's work over time. So if you look at things through the window of understanding a particular artist's market, then you really see how almost 9 years, 8 years and 10 months later, that you're going to see a particular percentage is going to start appearing time and time again.
Yeah. I just want to also throw out Marcus's comment that he says it's still kind of low in his opinion compared to his X-Men art, but I don't know.
But
I don't know.
Those are apples and oranges. Yeah.
Right. But that's the thing. But you still compare that type of apple to orange. Like for example, like when you can't find another War Journal by Jim Lee example, right? You might say, okay, what is an X-Men cover from this era selling for, right? And then you kind of gauge, okay, what's the percentage difference between what this sells for and what the X-Men would sell for? And then you kind of have to tell yourself, at least that's how I do it. You say, well, was the X-Men at the time that many times or percentage more popular than Punisher War Journal? And that's how I do it.
Well, that's an argument that's germane to all of Jim Lee's Punisher War journals versus all of Jim Lee's X-Men covers. Like that, what Marcus had to say is in particular to this cover, it's yes, that when you compare any Jim Lee Punisher stuff to any Jim Lee X-Men stuff, then of course the Punisher stuff comes out looking cheap.
Yeah, and like Shaggy says, Albert's current pricing for Jim Lee makes this look very reasonable.
Just a year later, yeah.
I mean,
not even a year later.
Well, no, he's talking about the fact that he has many times sold brand new Jim Lee covers for 100,000, 60,000. You know,
the stuff at OAX that Albert had at his booth was insanity. Like, very impressive stuff to see. But if you just walked across the other side of that exhibition hall, you saw very similar things for like percentages, fractions, we'll say.
What's Marcus saying here? Do you know this? Kind of low compared to modern H2SH. I'm not
Hush 2.
Huh?
Hush 2, the Batman story.
Oh, Hush. Oh, okay. It's a typo. Okay, I see. Okay, kind of low compared to Hush. Right. That's what I'm saying. When you compare it to his newer stuff that he sells, that way you're like, yeah, okay, that's kind of cheap.
Well, there's also people. I mean, Hush 2 is a sequel to a very beloved Batman story, potentially overrated, but very beloved. And Jim Lee became the Batman guy for a little while. Like his covers are very collectible and his interior is super rare. So, I mean, in back of X-Men, Batman is probably the number 2 title for Jim Lee.
Yeah.
I mean, in his own stuff is probably number 4, like
that's
Wildcats.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Hey, Derek. I like MLB's comment was like Jim Lee collect down to Jay Lee. You like yeah.
Although if you never get your artwork, it's a worse investment, right?
Tom says that they were selling. Tom says they were selling at OAX, Jim Lee's stuff.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, people want what they want, and people have deep pockets. But I saw a lot of stuff at Albert's booth, Bolland, for example, that you could get across the room cheaper and better stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. And Steve asks, were Jim Lee X-Men pieces not in high demand pre-Hush? Oh no, they've always been
still the highest. Still the highest. Like that's apex.
Absolutely. All right. Let's keep it going, everybody. I think if we keep the pace, maybe even just speed it up a tad, we'll be good. We're on the last 5 here. So just so you know. This next one. We are going back to DC, everybody. Check this piece out. You know what, Matt? I got to say, before we talk about this, I got to say, even though the data on the slides and the images on the slides themselves, even though it's, smaller, obviously, doing it this way, I kind of like you and me still being able to see each other on
this is how most people do it. So, yeah.
Now
let me talk about this because I see people talk about back in the day. So when The Shadow was being published in the early 70s at DC, of course I wasn't reading it when it was in the newsstand, but I came to be a huge Kaluta fan through iVampire and other stuff that Kaluta was doing. And I loved his Shadows. And then I think Tom Sutton came in to replace him, at the end of that run. Right. And I thought it was so terrible. But you'd read in the letter columns in like issue 12 of that Shadow run how people preferred the Tom Sutton artwork to the Kaluta artwork because Sutton looked contemporary and Kaluta looked old school.
Really?
Like looked like 1950s comics.
Wow.
And now, I mean, it's the first major title that Kaluta worked at in comics. And so it's very important historically. But I gotta say, that seeing a $6,500 price tag on an interior page for The Shadow in 2012 seems a bit high.
Really? Oh, interesting. Yeah, you know what? I mean, when you think about it, 2012.
I think it's about $2,000 too much.
Yeah, it's hard for me to remember, but it thinking of it now in the moment, when you say that, I'm like, wow, because that
That
was
stuff was like
13
$4,500 to $5,000.
Yeah, and who knows? We if we checked it up, maybe we'd see that we were wrong about it, right?
I mean, he's in basically every panel, and that's something. But I mean,
Oh, it's a great page.
it's
Yeah.
a fine example of his work. So it's sort of baseline, but it comes off to me as a little expensive.
Okay. All right. Well, let's find out, everybody. Let's see. Oh, hold on. MLB says strong price. It seems to me. So he's in.
Yeah.
He's on with you on that. I think Kaluta was doing Tarzan backups of Carson of Venus or even Son of Frankenstein. That I don't know. Peter, today amazing that people reading off the stand preferred Sutton over Kaluta.
It's wild. Yeah.
Marcus does point out that it's rare. It's true that they've never really been out there
come up much
in big quantities, you know?
Yeah.
Must be a Kaluta fan.
Or a Shadow fan.
So yeah, let's see what happened with this, guys. Let's see what happened. So this was 2012, and then it resold 13 years later. Look at that. Isn't that interesting, right? What are your observations about this? 13 years later, it sold for about triple, I guess, 19.
I'm not seeing
triple.
the new slide on either what we're looking at or the live feed.
I'm sorry?
I'm not seeing the new slide on either.
Oh my God, really? Can you guys in the chat, can you confirm whether you're seeing? Oh, Marvel fan says you're not seeing the. Wow, we're not seeing the picture. That is so crazy. This software is pissing me off.
I mean, you can see visuals, but you can't see the new slide.
Right. What are you looking at other than you and me? Nothing?
It's the old slide with
the old slide's still there?
Yep.
Okay. Let me see what happens when I get rid of the old slide. Interesting. I got okay, hold on.
Bam. There we go.
There we go. Okay. So what do you think about that? 13 years he held on. So congratulations for holding on a long time. That's very good. Very nice. Sold for $19,000 as opposed to the purchase of over $6,000. Got his money back plus 9,400 profit for about 143%. 143% profit return.
I mean, this also seems high to me, but
yeah,
maybe that's just the world we live in now when it comes to early 70s Kaluta, which is still rare. I mean, like, there's not a lot of that work. So, I mean, he did what, nine issues?
Yeah.
And like I say, you got shadow on almost, I think, every panel, really. Well, not super pronounced on the on two of them, but yeah, good for the person who got it. I mean, I've always sort of thought that Kaluta's artwork was undervalued for a very long time. So if that's the turning point of people really starting to appreciate it in the way that they appreciate Jeff Jones, in the way that they appreciate Wrightson, then so be it. But I think that this seems like a high price.
Let me say one thing, if I may. There are two panels, so the 5th and 6th panels, where it's profile and front view close-ups.
Those are great panels. Great panels.
And shadow fans, I've noticed, you will all if it has panels of a close-up of the shadow's head or face, it doesn't matter whether it's front view or side view. To shadow fans, they love having a close-up. So that will always get them more excited. Obviously, it's not an exact science, so I can't tell you, obviously, how much more that would excite the fans, how much more it would make them want to pay for it. But I think it's worth mentioning that they will. It seems they will pay up more when it has really killer close-ups.
And I haven't read the dialogue on this page, so I'm not sure if the dialogue is a factor.
Yeah, I haven't either. And sometimes that does make a difference, of course.
Yep.
Shaggy says, "Man, I am getting priced out of everything." Indeed, again, but that's what always happens. You gotta.
I'll say this. So, but anybody, again, like if you love Kaluta's work, it's not like Kaluta isn't still at his peak. I mean, like, everything the guy has done for the last 30 years has been as good, if not better, than the stuff that he did in the 70s. You can pick up, Madame Xanadu pages from Kaluta for under $2,000 a piece, and they're all killer. So, I mean, yeah, Kaluta's market is, if you can pick up Kaluta, you should be picking up Kaluta now before it turns a corner that you can't recover from.
Right. Yeah. Again, it's almost like, again, so we say there's different ways of, collecting down, you can go, if you're an artist collector, you're priced out on, whatever you love about that guy, and, try his other popular series that he did way back when, whatever the case may be. Right?
Starstruck has been out of range for a long time because there's a couple of people that seemingly have all the Starstruck stuff. Like, they really love it. I don't know if they were huge fans of the Epic series, and Elaine May, who's a phenomenal writer in the real world, her only foray into comics. So that's got a whole different type of collector attached to it. But Kaluta's stuff it's out there, it's available. You can pick up great bargains on his work.
Yeah, on some things, absolutely. Absolutely. Robert says, with a beak like that, the mask over his mouth doesn't disguise him much. Good point.
Although when he actually illustrates, the secret identity, he doesn't have that. Like, that's like the magic, right? The Shambhala magic trick that he throws that makes him look like the shadow when he's the shadow, as opposed to when he's, his identity.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Let us keep rolling. And so let's see, where are we? Okay, we're going to go back to Marvel here, everyone. We're going to go back to Marvel, and we're going to see, this one's for Maki Poo-Poo, the man himself. Hopefully you're still there, Michael. You usually say bye when you leave, so I haven't seen you say bye. I'm assuming you're watching closely and intently, but this is up your alley. So let's check this out. Check this one out, guys. Savage Sword of Conan cover by Earl Norem from 2004 that this was purchased. And this is guys, a great example, when we talked about earlier tonight, right? When I said we'd have a few examples where there were certain things in the hobby where, almost everything gets pumped up and made hot, and it's the latest thing people are going after. But, there's always something that falls through the cracks and people just don't bother with it. Savage Sword of Conan, right, Matt? For the longest time, years and years, nobody would pay more than $3K, $3.5, maybe close to $4 for so many years. All right.
And that was also true of the Earl Norem market, that, outside of the two Normans, Eastman and the other guy, that when you look at the Man's Ruin type artists, the guys that did all those really lurid paperback covers, Earl was doing those paperback covers too, and his market was always softer than their market. And he's another guy that in the last few years, his market has really picked up, and realizing that a guy of his caliber working in our, neck of the woods is something that you really should start to look for. But this was about what they were going for in 2004, like around $3,000, certainly not more than $4. So whoever bought this got the going rate on this cover at the time.
Yep. No, that's right. That's what they were going for. Just, there wasn't that much interest in it, Akam said, I don't know if it's going to be Apple stock. Probably not. But again, you guys are always, you're always the first guys to pull out the exceptions to the rule out of your ass to try to make counterpoints to my arguments, like I'm talking about
Marcus is saying that there were plenty available back then. That's not true. Like, a lot of this stuff wasn't necessarily hitting the market, but it wasn't hitting the market because it wasn't deemed very valuable.
Yeah.
Like that if you build it, they will come, if there's already a huge fan base for it, people will go after it. In 2004, people were really looking for specific stuff, and Earl Norem wasn't one of the guys that they were looking for.
Well, let me make a very important point too, guys, because of what you just finished saying, Matt, and Marcus's comment that you could have bought a Defenders cover. Listen, here's the thing about it. One thing to remind you guys, because I was around and in the thick of things back in 2004. I got to remind you, at that time, the other thing that generally was going on in our hobby, a much, much smaller hobby, I might add, was that the majority of collectors had not caught on to painted art yet.
Paintings, yeah.
In fact, not only did they not catch on to it, they knew of their existence, but they looked down upon it because the painted covers were primarily from the magazines, right? And comic people always considered the magazines as not part of the canon of the comic books, right?
And a different size, a completely different size, which made them really hard to store.
Exactly, and that's one of the main key things to remember.
People in the fine art painting market were looking down on fantasy art, so it was neither fish nor fowl. Like it had not even a percentage of the audience of either of the things that it is both of.
Yeah. All right, so let's see what happened, everybody. Let's check it out. And so what do we got? It's a 2004, 3,200. And then May 2017. So check that out. How interesting is that? So exactly. The point I'm going to make, and then I'll hand it over to you, Matt, is 2000. Okay, so number one, congratulations, my friend, whoever you are, for holding it almost 13 years. Fantastic, right? Because while you made a nice profit, this also goes to show how long it took for these covers to start moving above the $3,000 to $4,000 range. And it only started a little bit before 2017. I don't remember exactly when, but it was not long before that, In
2006, this doubles again, if it were to be sold, probably. Then an Earl Norem Conan, if this were to be sold in 2006, 2026, so 9 years later, that Earl Norem covers in general have all gone up above $12,000-$14,000.
Exactly. Perfectly well said. Yeah, exactly. Right now, this is probably, a double isn't easy to say, right around that mark, a little bit more, a little bit less, whatever, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. But yeah, so there you go, guys. Buy what you love, yes, but keep in mind, sometimes for certain things, when they're less popular, it does take a lot longer to finally make some money. But hey, this guy enjoyed it for 13 years and he benefited nicely from it. You think about it, most people don't ever hold the pieces anywhere near that long. And and had he been one of those guys, he would have probably been selling it for what he paid. He may have lost a little or maybe made, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, because it's stuck at his buy price for so long. So
and I think from a technical painting perspective that Earl Norem is a much more accomplished and better technical painter than a Joe Jusko. But Joe Jusko's market is similar, right? Like until Jusko did those Marvel Masterpiece cards, his art was in that kind of level where you could kind of pick it up for a couple $1,000s for a very, very long time. And then it turned a corner after those Marvel Masterpieces. And then everything Joe Jusko started to go way, way up in price.
Yep. Actually, not only that, but remember a few years back, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, he started doing those the cover corner box recreations. Do you know what that is, Matt?
Yeah.
You're familiar with those? Yeah.
I am familiar with those, yeah.
Yeah, and he started selling those originals immediately for like $6,000, $7,000, right? And so that helped him in the aftermarket.
Yeah.
Because people were looking at, his new stuff is selling for X amount. So people started realizing, okay, maybe his Savage Sword covers, which were at the time selling still for $3,500, $4,000, And when he started selling his new stuff for 6, 7, 8, then people realized, okay, that's suddenly that compared to that, because it's brand new, the Savage Sword shit, it's a bargain. There's room to move on that. That can double, right?
And there were dozens of them, right? I mean, he did dozens of the Savage Sword covers. And all of that stuff had kind of like a Tom of Finland look to it. Like there was something just like a little bit off about it that seemed like it made him almost the wrong guy to be doing those covers. But he became so associated with it that certainly people of a certain generation, when they think of Conan, think of Joe Jusko's covers.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is that I do, having grown up in the 80s, I do feel like, oh my gosh, Joe Jusko, the first thing that comes to mind when I think of Joe's name is Savage Sword of Conan, right?
Yep.
But in the entire series, of which I believe went to 235 issues or something like that, he quote unquote, only painted 30 of them.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Is
that
that
certainly
more
counts as dozens.
Sorry?
That certainly counts as dozens. It's
It's
almost 3 dozen.
It's 2.5 dozen. But is that more or less than you would have thought?
It's about right. I was thinking
Yeah.
around 36, so that makes sense.
Okay.
It just seems like it was ubiquitous. And then everybody else they hired was doing a Joe Driscoll version of the character rather than doing a Frazetta, rather than doing a John Buscema, rather than doing an Earl Norem. Like it seemed like everybody else was kind of doing the Driscoll thing.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So yeah, there you go. Listen, for a slow selling thing, that just to, I'm following up the Marcus's comment because he's like, oh, 117% is a big deal or whatever. Like for something that had stagnated at your cost, whatever you would have paid for it for like so many years. Yes. 117 over a 12-year period in general, of course not. But I didn't say that, did I? Right? It's all about context. For a slow-moving thing like Savage Sword was for so long, yes, this guy got lucky by holding it for so long that he more than doubled his money.
And fantasy art is still not even at its peak.
Yeah.
And when you look at 2017, like we said, like if you jump forward to 2026, you can imagine this selling for double in price. But like fantasy art in general is on its way up. It's no longer looked down upon as this less valid genre for fine painting. That if anything, like a whole generation of people who grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons are now our age. And so fantasy art means a lot to them, and they have a knock list of like who means something to them. But if you grew up reading Dragon magazine, you may be more in the Elmore category than necessarily in that Conan-esque category. So there's like a bunch of subcultures of sub collecting when it comes to fantasy art, whether it has to have a dragon and whether or not it has to be a barbarian, like it's very, very there's a lot of different divisions there.
Right. Marcus, no. Maybe I did, and I don't remember.
They had it at OAX, as I recall.
The one that he's talking about?
I think so.
Okay. Can you just tell us which one it was? Remind me. Tell me the price. And let us know why you're bringing it up. I want some context for that comment. Because I don't remember if I saw it or not. So yeah,
that's a whole larger approach when it comes to Marcus and his posts and us asking questions and not knowing what the hell he's talking about.
And speaking
all
of
with
Conan,
love, Marcus, all with love.
And speaking of Conan, everybody, I know some of you who are into movies probably heard, but Schwarzenegger is coming back to the well to do another Conan movie.
As Conan?
King Conan.
I mean, I read the Milius King Conan script like 22 years ago, and it's huge.
I don't know. The guy's what, 79 or something? I don't know.
Good question.
Yeah.
Marcus will know. Marcus will know the bodybuilder's age.
Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, love fantasy. MLB says these people will start seeing this art and the saga will go on and on. Yeah, for sure. Fantastic Four Corners, corner box. Oh, you're talking about the oh, right. Yes, I did see that, Marcus. Yeah, exactly. That was the one with all the characters, right? I forget how much it sold for though. Maybe remind us how much it sold for. All four sold kind of cheap, says Tom, right? King Conan, yeah. Old man Conan, right? King Conan, his son will be doing the heavy lifting. We'll see. Yeah. It'd be cool if he already had a son and there's a younger Conan in it, and he's just going to be there on the throne talking to, the new Conan. That'd be more, I can't imagine a guy his age, out there battling the demons and, on his way to Valhalla, whatever.
I mean, it's just not going to be the same without Mako narrating it.
MLB, look at that. Best paced show I've seen. Good work. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
78 years. Thank you, Marcus. 78 years old. Wow. And they went for about 5 to 6 each. I don't know, guys. To me, brand new, and he's done so many of those corner box recreation things. I feel like it's a lot, but he sold a lot. So obviously the market thinks it's fair. I wouldn't say that's cheap to me. I think when I see them going for 6 to 8, I feel, God, that's a lot. But whatever.
And I don't. I mean, I won't. I'm not going to say anything. I was gonna. They're not of the level of other fantasy paint. He's just not at that same level as the people that came before him.
Market always speaks, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Let's get on to the next one. So we can finish before 11:30. That would be awesome. And then Matt's gonna kiss me after. So yeah, the next one here, you guys will be familiar with this. Another example that we've seen a couple tonight of something that everybody ignored, both in terms of, it's DC. So first of all, it's always more ignored than Marvel. So that we know. But in terms of the artist and the title, ignored by everybody for decades. All right, so let's check this out. This will be a fun one. Let's hope you guys see it. Okay, can you see that, Matt?
Superboy. Yep.
Yep. Okay. So it's Superboy number 21, page 1. The splash page, great splash page. I love it.
$150. Wow.
Yeah, and I was the seller. Yeah, so you see there, Comic Book Art Gallery. For those of you who don't know, that's the name of my website that I've had since the 90s.
Yeah.
Wow. I was the seller. And let me tell you, Matt, even by the standards of 2006, I promise you, I kept saying, why the hell does nobody care about this? Like, I get that. Okay, Superboy was a secondary title at DC, but whatever, But it was popular. He was popular, and it sold well at the time because he was one of the characters out of the Return of Superman after he died and all that, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, this is 2006. Like, this is 14 years after Superman died, and a splash from his own series could only fetch $150 retail. And trust me,
it's wild.
Guys,
it's wild.
Guys, keep this also, just to put more of a stamp on it. I was the seller, and I made a profit on it. So imagine how ridiculous that was, right? Incredible. And I got to tell you guys also, just to have some more context, because I am known as the Tom Grummett guy, it continued to be basically this cheap or similarly cheap for literally another 10 fucking years.
Yeah.
It was only around 2016, by the way, when I can't even remember what I was collecting at the time. I decided, I can't afford this anymore. I'm collecting down. Let me look for something else to collect. And I'm like, okay, what else is there? What else? I'm like, I used to hate having to sell my Tom Grummett stuff. Let me collect Tom Grummett because he's one of the last guys whose stuff is dirt cheap, right? And I enjoyed Superboy. I enjoyed all the stuff he did, the new Teen Titans, whatever. So I started collecting it in 2016 because it was basically this cheap still. Unbelievable. Come on, guys. That's insane. All right, let's see. Oh, hold on. Let me get a few comments in.
I remember there was a black T-shirt Superman cover. I think it was Tom Grummett that went up at might have been Comic Link. It might not have been Heritage. And I was completely outside of what I usually collect, but I'm like, I love that cover, and I bid it up and then lost.
Yeah. Shaggy, no more at 150. Yeah, go back. If you got the time machine, you can just go back yourself on your own and you buy them all up before I buy them. It's not Cyborg.
Time machine might be cheaper at this point.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, Tom, thank you. He is good. I prefer a Steel Splash.
Yeah, but Steel Splash is code for something else.
Yeah. All right. So let's see what happened, everybody. So May 2006. So yeah, 20 years ago, 150. But remember, it was still about 150 to 200 even 10 years ago. Here we go. Let's see what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. So May of 2025. Last
10 times. 10 times its value.
Yeah, a bit less than a year ago. It sold for $1,952. And by the way, guys, I did not partake in the bidding on this one. I forgot about it, and so I did not partake. So it still probably went a little cheaper than it might have otherwise gone. But either ways, that doesn't matter. It's neither here nor there. sold 1950. So it's basically $2,000 for a $1,600 profit after the fees. And just over almost 11 times the money. Of course, it's 19 years. It is 2 decades, but in 2 decades to get, 10 times your money. I mean, over the long term, if you're, following the market, right? If you're getting the market returns in the stock market, you're roughly doubling every 7 or so years. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's still, and again, it's amazing. But keep in mind, one last thing I want to say, Matt. Keep in mind that in this case, it wasn't a question, fellas, of, oh, wow, like what a great product. Like, yes, it's 20 years, so yes, keep that in mind. But remember though, it's only because it took so long for anybody to finally start thinking, hey, maybe this Tom Grummett stuff is really too cheap. It's too cheap, right? And so It's not like it slowly went up steadily over 20 years. It was just completely dead for most of that time. And then overnight, people started realizing, oh, hey, maybe these Superboy splashes should be like at least 400 to 500, not 150, 200. You know what I mean? And from there, it started to take off. But like I said, that's only in the last 10 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another important aspect of this, for people who have seen us before and people who haven't seen us before, is we don't know if it was the same person who sold it. We don't know if the same person who bought it for $150 is the same person who sold it for $19.52. So there could have been sales in between there. But, if that same person is the one that held on to it, then they did the right thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. Baker fan says that sounds cheap even now.
For a title page under $2,000, from a guy whose Superman work costs 10 times that.
Well, to get a closer comparison, if you want, the covers over the years, they seem to be all over the place. But let's say in the last 3-ish years or so, 3 to 4 years, the covers, and again, it obviously depends on what's on the cover. But they've ranged from as low as, let's say, $2,000 for the lowest ones, but over $5,000 for some really, really strong ones, So that's a pretty wide range. But yeah, so if you're thinking about, this is a high quality content splash, so you compare it to the image on a high quality cover. If the cover is going for $5,000,
splash.
Yeah. So if you're paying $5,000 for the cover, then it seems $19.50 for the splash seems pretty good, and Robert Byrne agrees.
The splash.
Sorry?
There's something kind of cooler about a title page that's cover quality than a cover.
Sometimes I agree with that.
Special about that,
Yeah. Sometimes I agree that there's times where I'm like, it's I don't know. It's I agree with that sometimes, from time to time. I need to get on that Grummett train. Even Caesar also jumps in and agrees that it's still cheap. Yep. But that's the thing, guys. Remember, when a particular artist's work spent literally, it's not even exaggeration here, literally decades selling for dirt cheap, right? And even when it finally starts to move up, right, and it goes 2 or 3 years moving up so steadily, that type of stuff typically is what you can kind of consider that it does still have room to move over time, right? Because of the fact that, it's gone up in recent years, but compared to the 20 whatever years it spent not moving at all, right? It definitely still has more room to grow. So compared to a Grummett commission price, it's a good deal. I don't know. I haven't looked into his commission prices. Good night, DJ. Later, DJ. A sweet title splash for the price. Yep. Caesar says, the question is, would you have bought it? Well, like I said, all I'll tell you is I would have bid over 2. I'm not going to tell you what I was planning on bidding, but it was going to be over 2. Would you have bought? Oh, and how high would you have gone? Well, there you go. That's the question, right? I'll keep that to myself. I got to watch for the competition. Although, frankly, look, you guys know it's time for me now to get the collection down. So I'm looking at probably moving. I mean, listen, I have a lot of Grummett stuff, as you guys know. So a lot of the shit I love, I will be making available. So that includes Superboy art.
I mean, even Dan Jurgens' artwork took a long time to kind of get up to where it's at. Like for a long time, it was super affordable, and then it turned a corner. And you could say that about all the guys that worked on the Death of Superman. Like everything else they did just wasn't that, and it took a long time for the work to climb.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Baker fan Sean says Ruben must be sitting on a pile of Grummett art. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Down
200
to 20
pieces.
Well, I'm not Hart. I will not put a number on it. I don't believe in that. But I would love to whittle it down way, 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 way down from what it is now. And yes, that means a great vast majority of my collection. It will kill me to offer it up. So yeah, it is what it is. Customs will detain me, and the any new Titans? Well, I may be putting that stuff up at some point, but not all of it. So we'll see. But that's kind of secondary. I want to keep that for last because I have more of a love for the Titans than the Superboy stuff. So time to buy that house. Ruben keeps just enough to store in his bed. All right. Let's move it on here, fellas. And let's see. Okay, let me first remove this. We'll come back. Let me remove those two slides. Remove from studio. Okay, and let's get the next one. Back to Marvel, everybody. The last Marvel piece of the night. Check it out. Wolverine, first issue of the ongoing series, 1988, by John Buscema, Al Williamson. It sold from Mitch at Graphic Collectibles in November of 2017 for $7,500. And let me tell you guys, I remember, I've never forgotten it. It's always been in my head. When I got his email and I went to it, and I remember thinking it was still there. And I was like, 7,500. And I think if I remember correctly, he had trouble. The way it was listed, it's like he didn't remember what it was, or like the consigner didn't know from what it was published.
And the issue, it didn't have the page number. Right, it was just published, and I was like, Wolverine Splash.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure, isn't that the first issue Splash he appears in? And then I refreshed the page, and boom, it was gone. It was sold. And I'm like, yeah, 7,500. So yes, at 2017, I remember thinking, not that that's not a lot of money, right? Like not everybody has $7,500 lying around, but I remember thinking, shouldn't that be twice as much now because it's the first issue? That's how I felt, anyways. That's how I felt. And then a lot of people around the hobby, I saw them saying similar, like they weren't saying prices, but they were like, God, that seemed like he gave it away. It seemed pretty cheap, no? So anyways, that's what people were thinking. Let's see what happened here. So this was, so November, so a little like, 8 years ago-ish or so. Let's see what happened. 7.5 years later, it sold at Heritage for $48,000. Wow. So even after fees, profited $32,000 bonus for enjoying that beautiful piece of work for 7 years, 7.5 years. Yeah. 435% increase. Pretty incredible. What do you think, Matt? Any thoughts? What are your thoughts?
I think it's hideous, but which is, I mean, I was never a fan. I love Buscema, and I love his work on the Avengers, and I loved his work on Conan. I thought his work on Wolverine was subpar, like all of it. But this is the page, like this is the page from that entire Wolverine run. I think it's, I mean, in back of the cover to #1, it's probably the other best piece of artwork with that entire series. And so that price of $48,000 honestly doesn't surprise me that much. It seems like an appropriate amount for what that is. Just as I think 7,500 in the day, I think felt about right. I mean, it felt about like what that was worth, comparatively. I mean, what's kind of crazy is that, so when that when Mitch sold that, he also had like a cover from All Star Superman from Frank Whiteley that was still available.
Okay.
That was about the same price. So, what would the Frank Whiteley cover to All Star Superman be worth? Would it be worth 48,000? Would it be worth more? Are they about the same?
I don't.
It's
I
hard
don't
to
know.
say, right?
Yeah, that's yeah. I don't know. That's to me. That's really apples and oranges. I just
That's me from the same seller at the
yeah. No, I
exact
know. Yeah,
same time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I get that. I get you. I get what you mean. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Shaggy says that he in his from what he remembers, Big John Wolvie for 7,500 in the pre-COVID era is cheap for what that is.
Several years earlier. I mean, it's 2017 is
3 years earlier.
3 years earlier.
Yeah. To answer Marcus's question, I'm not really sure why you're asking this question. I got to tell you, I've never seen cover. I think Milgram has still not sold any of his covers from the Kitty Pryde Wolverine miniseries. So, or has he? I don't know. I don't think so. So I don't know why you're asking that. But I got to tell you, I love that miniseries. Haven't read it since it came out, so it might not be as good as I remembered it. I was 15 or something. But I enjoyed those covers. Again,
Second Wolverine series before the solo ongoing series.
Oh, so, right. Because it was kind of like the next sort of the second mini series, but it wasn't really solo. But yeah, the second series, if you will, before his first ongoing or whatever.
But I also I've said before that I like Al Milgram, so maybe he's just trying to dig.
I don't know. That's what he's saying. Matt said this was ugly. Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
Matt
is.
Said that. That's his ugly. Opinion. I love Buscema. I love Al Williamson, so I don't think it's ugly. Well, I'll tell you what I think is ugly is I can't stand his costume. I always despise this stupid, I don't even call it a costume, honestly. And I hate the fact when he doesn't wear a mask and he's got the overly long mutton chop thingies and the hair spiky thingies.
Looks like I don't like him
overly, so I hate the appearance, but the artwork, I love it. So yeah, that's just, hey, different strokes for different folks, right, Matt?
Absolutely. If whoever paid $48,000 for this, I hope they love it.
Yeah.
And and there's no shame. I mean, it's if you liked this series, this is the second best thing you can have.
Yeah. And for the fact that it's the big giant splash, first time he's basically making his appearance in the new series. It's the first issue. Remember, first solo series. That alone, collectors love that. Investors love that, right? If he holds this for 10 years, he will be getting a 6-figure price. Maybe even less than
easily.
Yeah, maybe even less than 10 years. Yeah, maybe in 5 years.
More than like maybe $200,000. Not just the low 6 figures necessarily, but yeah,
exactly. So, all right, everybody. Let me see here. Well, we're doing good, baby. We're doing good, Matt. One more to go. Woo! So let me remove these two, and we're on our last one. Again, guys, remember we went. I went alphabetical order from the titles, so I didn't save the best for last or whatever.
Someone tells me it's X. Oh no, you said it's not Marvel, so it can't be X-Men.
No, it's DC. And so it's not ending with some wow, look at that. No, it's not that. Because I stuck with the alphabetical order. But again, still something that we can learn from. Okay, so it's this. Let me show you the color. I'll show you the color piece because it's a double thing. I couldn't put it on the same slide. So I'll show you. It's this piece. Wonder Woman. Yeah, number 128 by John Byrne. So at least we're ending on a big time collected artist, and a big, well collected character on the DC side. Very lovely. Right, she's not in her usual costume, obviously, but there are fans who love it. With the whatever you call that mini skirt, if you will, covers basically half her butt. It's lovely. Given that for John Byrne inking himself, this was around the time where he started to use a chunkier, fatter line on his inks, and it started to go really downhill fast, and people started hating it. This particular one, I guess this is not the issue where he started going downhill, but because the lines are nice and fine. They're quite lovely still here at this point.
It almost looks like a Perez page.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, exactly. Especially with those backgrounds like Perez loved to do on Wonder Woman, right?
Yep.
So let's see. Let's see what it first was purchased for. All right. Here we go. So in 2020, so the first few months of COVID, oops, look at that. COVID, Comic Link, $2,800, which to me, by July, people were in a frenzy. It was like March and April, people were scared and thinking, hey, should I send all my stuff into the auction? Because we may be in the middle of we might be all dying soon.
Also, suddenly, those first checks. There was also those first COVID checks.
Oh, well, that fast? Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, people start spending. So to me, I thought, hey, this is, I don't know.
I think someone scored on this. I think they got a really good deal at $2,800 for a double page splash.
I remember
title page.
I remember at the time thinking people again, because people were no longer scared by July.
Right.
They were started spending their money. And I remember
some people were not back to work. Some people were still out of work. And, even though there was a law passed that they didn't, at least in the United States, where they didn't have to pay, they could defer their rent until later. There were still a lot of people that went out of work and didn't get back to work for a year and a half. So it's an interesting time. Like some people had a lot of money and continue to have a lot of money. Some people had already been working remotely before the pandemic, and other people were in a really dire situation. So there was definitely a lot of artwork hitting the market around now.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So we go 2,800. Like I said, guys, I just remember thinking, wow, like not even 3K. It's quite lovely. It's
yeah,
very nice for a double page splash with that imagery. But anyways, okay. So 2,800, but here, guys, yeah, hold on. Sean says, July 2020, our state was still shutting businesses down like restaurants. Yeah. But I don't know about that.
The shutdown started in March.
Yeah, I don't remember the timeline of everything, shutting, opening, reopening, shutting, whatever. I don't remember all that stuff. All I can remember for sure is that as far as our hobby goes, the first 2 months, March and April, everybody was, oh my God, are we all going to die? Okay, what do we do? Is our art going to become worthless? And then by May, everybody's like, nope, it's going to be okay. May, June, July. For the rest of the year, it's like, bye. We're all stuck at home now. Let's bye.
Now, is John in California?
No, but he's on the West Coast.
Okay. So in California, everything shut down mid-March, and then it reopened 3 or 4 months later a little bit, and then it shut down again. So like that second shutdown, I think, scared the shit out of people. It definitely put a lot of restaurants out of business, and a lot of people will never forgive the governor for that. But it's a weird era, because if you had money and you weren't worried about, your career or your job, it was a really good time to get out there and buy stuff. And so this is an example of that. Like, I think this went cheap at 2,800 when it sold. Even the kind of glue stain thing in the bottom thing, because it's not really pivotal to the story. It's kind of a who gives a shit.
Yeah.
But it is a beautiful page. It's a great example of latter day John Byrne, as you say, before it kind of started to take a big downhill slide, and a character that you knew John Byrne for. When he came on as Superman, you're like, oh, he did She-Hulk. I can't wait to see his Wonder Woman. So it's this checks a lot of boxes. I mean, she's not in the classic Wonder Woman garb, but it's very clearly Diana, and it's in her Amazon, look. So really interesting to see what this went for. Years later,
I'm now even more excited to show you, because there's I think you're all going to be surprised. Okay, there's going to be a big surprise here. But it's even more exciting now to show it, because Comic Art Boston just came back, and he says, just came in. What a coincidence. I always liked this double page splash, and I am the current purchaser of this. I paid more, but it seemed fine to me. Yeah, no kidding. Watch what happens here, guys. Watch what happens here. Let's take a look and discuss. While this may be a first, is it a first where we talk about a piece while the current owner is in the chat? Okay.
Not the first time. First time tonight.
But with the current owner still currently owning it?
Yeah.
Live?
That's happened.
Okay. All right. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, very exciting. So it's very cool. Let's see what happens, everybody. Let's go to, so yeah, 2020, $2,800. And then 2026, guys. It
Still
didn't,
got it dirt cheap.
It didn't move. I'm like, what is going on? He held it.
Still got a good deal on it, man. You still got a good deal. I mean, like it looks a lot cleaner, like someone cleaned up the glue on it or something.
Yeah.
And so Cab, is this a good
Thanks,
presentation of what the page looks like? Like, did they clean up the glue?
I wonder, because Cab is not the kind of guy who will fiddle, as far as I know. He's not the kind of guy who'll fiddle with, oh, let me send this in and try to get it repaired or whatever. But Cab can tell us, I suppose. I'm kind of surprised about that. Yeah, I don't know if okay. So it must have been okay. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, this month. Yeah.
So the guy who probably paid $2,800 had it deacidified because he hasn't received it yet. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There you go.
And we're guessing he probably actually lost a little bit of money on this.
Well, like I say, yeah, it's no, see, because it's sold at Comic Link, it's a flat 10%.
Oh, you're right. So he did make a little bit of money. Yeah.
Yeah. So he just, again, this to me, the guy always say break even, right? Right. It's basically break even because it's almost 6 years, right? Almost 5 3/4 years. But
if he had brought it to Heritage, would it have hit $6,000?
Yeah, but I don't know. That's the thing. I'm not convinced. We've seen examples where hey, we're not impressed with how it didn't go as high as we thought it would, and and it sold at Heritage. So we've shown that it's not. They don't always. It's not like it's some automatic thing where Heritage, they're always going to get super top dollar. It doesn't always work that way, So interesting. Scott says he was bidding on this one himself. Now that's a decent deal. We'll not find this on Jim Warden's repertoire for this price. 6 years in which the price of everything else in the country doubles. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, right.
It's shocking to me. Both times it's shocking. It seems very, very cheap both times. Nope. He didn't lose money. That's why the data's up there right in front of your face. He lost the 10% off the 3305, and that leaves him with $174.50. So again, he didn't lose. Negligible profits. So to me, that's just break even, obviously, especially after 5 years. But it's not his fault. It's nobody's fault. It's just shocking that nobody cared enough to value it any more than that amount,
And now he can fill his El Dorado with gas. And that's about it.
Marcus says that no, that's what it's worth. Marcus thinks it's only worth that much right now. Okay, you seem to be the only one so far who thinks that.
Well, no, he's not wrong because sold this month.
Yeah. The market said that, I guess. Yeah,
but I still think that's a good deal.
Yeah, there are some really nice and reasonably priced pieces on Comic Link. Yes, we talk about it all the time, Cav. We talk about it all the time, especially on this Hold for the Gold and Stop the Insanity. We talk about it a lot. That Heritage is a seller's market, generally speaking, and Comic Link is the buyer's market. That's where you go to get the deals. We say it all the time. You can get a lot of deals at Comic Link. So great place to buy for sure. The seller for sure thought he would go much higher. Yeah, I bet you he did.
Yeah,
I bet you he did. Matt, if you were looking to send something of yours to auction, would it be HA by default? I think that there's a lot
and I have something there now. So yeah.
There you go. MLB says, I think it'll go for thousands more without waiting 5 years.
I think you're right.
Thousands more in the next few years?
I think it could gain $2,000 within the next 5 years.
Oh, no, I'll agree with that. Yeah, because I think right now, if you found the right person, I think you could find the right person who would say, "Oh, $5,000, yeah, I like that. I'll buy that." You know what I mean? Yeah. So
that's one of the nicest Byrne pieces. You'd have to go back a lot further than that. I mean, his Fantastic Fours don't have that much detail in the background. And ostensibly, you want Fantastic Four from Byrne or you want X-Men, and neither of those have backgrounds that detailed.
Yeah, yeah. Chuck, hey, what's up, Chuck? Chuck also says, good
Hey,
deal,
Chuck.
but yeah, that's right for Byrne Wonder Woman. Okay.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
clearly it's what it is now. You know, like again, you know, to speak to what Marcus said, that is the market because it's this month. But I also think that there is a tremendous amount of room for it to improve based on the way everything else is moving and based on the way that Byrne's pricing is. Although Byrne's pricing kind of stabilized for a little while outside of X-Men, but I think it's going to get ready to spike again, just looking at what's available.
Yeah, and given the fact that it's from that title on which it, you know, his style for most people started to really quickly go downhill. They started using that fatter, chunkier brush line. And this is not one of those pieces, right? It's kind of one of the last things you can get, it seems, right? And one of the last really nice pieces from Wonder Woman, where it's you know, pre the decline in the look of the art, you know. So I think that alone should make it worth more.
What he's saying there, if Comic Link improved their platform, prices would, I think, be higher. The only thing that really separates Comic Link from Heritage is that you can save a piece on Heritage and you can't save a piece without bidding on it on Comic Link. That would seem to favor better pricing on Comic Link if people have to bet on it to watch it. But you may be right that a lot of people are just like, if I can't, you know, watch it, I'm just going away and not coming back to it.
That's a fact, Matt. I have a lot of friends in the hobby who for years they don't participate in Comic Link, and it's for that reason, because they can't stand the fact that they can't just track it at the touch of a button. So it's like, you want to be Mickey Mouse, then I'm not going to participate in your auctions. I don't care what you have. You know, there's more than enough art out there. I'd rather not deal with your aggravation, right? And lose whatever pieces I may have lost. Who cares? There's plenty of art else out there. You know?
About pieces that they don't love, right? Like, because it is a market of unique things. So if it's the piece you want, you're gonna pony up and you're gonna bet on it. But if you're a little less in love with it, if you're kind of on the fence about it, you're not gonna catch a squirrel at C-Link the way you're gonna catch a squirrel at Heritage.
Thank you, Sean. Sean says, gotta run, but another home run show. Good night, guys. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it, bud. Oh, and by the way, Sean, thank you for
Thanks, Sean.
What you were saying earlier about the cross-gen piece, the Arwen Sojourn piece. I just want to let everybody know. At 8:30 something or other, Sean actually was trying to say he actually was on my website and he bought it. So this may be the first time, at least to my memory, that somebody purchased something from my website while I was live streaming a show. So that's kind of fun.
That's awesome. Although someone bought something from me while I was on your show once.
That I remember. Yeah, that I remember. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But now it's funny because it's my channel, but it happened to you, and now it finally happened to me. Yeah, that's cool. I love Clink platform, says MLB, but I use TrackBid. Yeah, well, that's a lot of people don't want to do that, including me. And usually just watch live entire thing, right? Yeah, but it's just such a pain.
But it rewards patience. I mean, C-Link rewards patience because you generally get stuff for less.
Yeah.
And you don't pay a fortune for it because it also, you don't get killed with a fee on top of it. You know, they keep their percentages pretty close to actual on both sides of the transaction.
Yeah, and Cab also says, a lot of people also forget that. You know, they forget about the auction. They forget about
you don't get a reminder. Yeah, you don't get a reminder
because you're not tracking. You know, that's it. And so hence less action on the pieces. An alarm clock, nice. Jeff. Speaking of one of my many friends in this hobby, so Jeff Singh is one of those guys who I just spoke about. One of those guys who for years is like, I can't track on their stupid website, so screw them. You know. He says, Comic Link is stubborn obsolescence. Everyone has told Josh to change this since day one. And yet he refuses to. And guys, I can tell you, I've been told by people at Comic Link. He's been told by a million people. He refuses to. Why? Get this. He believes, and listen, everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? He is adamantly in the belief that by not having the ability to track at the touch of a button,
Have to bid.
Everybody is so addicted to this hobby that
they're
still going to go and they're going to make sure to come to my site and put tracking bids in. He's so wrong about that. He's so wrong about that, and he doesn't get it. Yeah, so very, very frustrating. And yeah, I've forgotten a lot. And it's time is waiting, everybody. Just FYI, Matt, it's 6 minutes or less than 5 minutes-ish to go. So we are going to wrap it, but let me just get this. So Jeff, this with respect, penny wise, pound foolish, right? Agree, Cab. I've forgotten. Yeah, everybody's forgetting about comic link auctions entirely, including Mickey. It's not as if Heritage's platform is that much more advanced. Oh, believe me, Cab, it's very much more advanced. A lot more than you think.
Well, they also have a much larger buyer base because they auction so many different types of items. So they get cross bidding from people who might normally buy watches or buy stamps or coins or paper money or automobiles or you name it. So that, everybody that has ever bought anything for them gets an email letting them know about every new auction that happens. And sometimes they catch a squirrel. That doesn't happen with Comics Link because they only sell comic art.
And
comics.
Let me address Marcus's comment because you're wrong on this, Marcus. Marcus says anyone who is actually going to bid on anything won't forget it's on Clink. Yes, they will. I've forgotten many times, and you've just seen other people say they've forgotten. So, yes, I forget. On Clink, I forget all the time. I don't do tracking bullshit. I don't have time for that nonsense. So it's either I remember the auction or I don't, and I often don't. So that's it, man. And by the way, there's many other people I know who always also forget to check. Yeah. Very correct, Marcus. That's not very correct. It's not Cab. A lot of people forget. Keep forgetting about Clink. See, there's another MLB. Keeps forgetting about it. Marcus, I have many. Like, there you go. See, they're telling you, Marcus. Tom says he's forgotten many times. There you go. HA sends me right. Oh, yeah.
Almost too many alerts, right? Like, honestly, almost too many.
Comic Link alerts you that, like in the days leading up to the auction, they constantly alert you that, oh, the auction is coming, the auction is coming, the auction is coming. But to me, it's so annoying. I delete them. I just need to know that I've tracked. If I've tracked, I'm taking it seriously. I know I got a bunch of shit tracked. I know what I'm going to bid on. Then I will remember. That helps me remember. The fact that I spent 2 hours going through the entire auction to decide what I want to track, right? That's what makes me remember. If I haven't tracked, I often don't remember, So not important enough. Mickey, there are a lot of nice pieces. Drives prices up. I set my alarms. A lot of things. If it's your grail, yeah, but for most people, it's not a grail. Sometimes I have to silence my phone. Okay, you're tracking to see if you get a bargain. Yeah, that's the intent, but it doesn't mean you're going to remember to. You may.
Do they allow sniping bids? Do they allow sniping technology?
Oh my God, I could do a whole show on just for you, Alberto. I would tear you a new one. You hate Comic Link snipers? That's the best. I can't stand the Hakes and the Comic Connect. To me, that's auction. I've said it many times before. Auctions for pussies. Okay, you need to have your hand held because you don't know how much you want to spend on a piece of art. So you can't. You're too scared to put your most that you're willing to pay for something. So you put less than you're willing to pay, and then when somebody outbids you, you wish you had more time to put another bid in. That's your fault for not knowing what you want to pay for something. I don't want to get.
I always wait until 10 seconds before the end of the auction to put in my absolute max, and if I get beat, I get beat.
Yeah, exactly. Come on, man. We're all adults, guys. Jesus, it's about time you guys know what you want to pay and put that price in. That's it. Collect Rigor, Ruben and Matt. Awesome show as always. Unfortunately, was able to connect only now. No worries, man. Have a good one. I appreciate it.
Yep.
You won't forget it's actually a grail of your. Again, grail means nothing. Grail just means it's a cool piece. You another cool piece you think is awesome. Whatever. A lot of people think that. I forget, and I've forgotten a lot of cool pieces. Doesn't matter if they are allowed or not. What mama don't know. Sniping is a staple of online auctions. Exactly. Comic Link auctions show up in my CAF list. When I go to the link, it says coming soon. Need to check out. Okay, bye, Cab. We're getting out of here ourselves. It's less than a minute to go. Let me get rid of this. There we go. Matt, I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. 3.5, baby. We did it.
We did it. We did it.
Thank you, everybody. Don't forget
Thanks,
to check
Chad.
out Nikki B on Friday. I'll be back probably just to hang out next week because I have nothing planned. So, yeah, have a great week, everybody. This spring weather is finally coming for those of us in the cold parts of the world. Yeah, so have a great week. See Nikki on Friday, and then be back here again on Sunday night for another hangout. We're saving a place on the wall behind for, oh God, I'll never let that go. But yeah, for another hangout, most likely, guys. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Thanks for showing up. Thank you, all of you. And as always, you know what it is. Thank you, Peter. I appreciate it. Here, let me put it up there. There you go. Thank you, Ruben. A great show.
Thanks,
Thank you. And thank you, guys. Thank you. They're all too kind. You're all too kind. There you go. See you all next week. All right.
Yes.
All right. Have a good one, everybody. And as always, go blue.